Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey, here we are, everybody. It's the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, a Tuesday edition. Guys, how are you?
We're in the building, man. It's starting to look like a little like summer outside.
It's hot.
It's kind of hot.
It's
It's
hot
going to
today.
80 today.
85, I think.
AC is on off top, off bat. I cannot be hot. I refuse to sweat anywhere on my body.
Oof. I'm in a tricky spot because, my wife is, even before she got leukemia, she was always kind of cold. And now it's like she just had her transplant. She's home. She's doing pretty well, but she's cold. Like, we were using the heat as recently as a day or two ago still.
Oh, wow.
So, like, I'm dying, but what am I going to do? My wife has she gets the priority right now. So I'm going to sweat my ass off. But there you go. So it's only air conditioning overnight for me. That's it.
Oh, listen, these dudes is in trouble. My wife, I told her, you better get you some blankets, dog. Get you some.
Even the house
Sleep in a
freezing
coat.
cold.
Yeah, hey, listen.
Sleep in a coat.
You better put that North Face on.
I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend, and hope everybody remembered, at least for some of the time, that it's this all the partying and drinking and eating was a purpose. The reason most people had off yesterday, not everybody, but was because of Memorial Day and what that means. Often we just celebrate the day and party and don't think about what it really means, which we all should. Did you guys have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend. We had won our first Little League game Friday
Nice.
night, had the team over Sunday on the trampoline in the hot tub playing basketball. Kids were going crazy, had all the parents over, had in-laws over and my mom over yesterday, cooked out again. We had a fantastic weekend.
Nobody got injured on the trampoline?
Nobody. I made my son, AJ,
Yeah.
broke his wrist, and he's just coming out of the cast. And
Did he break it on the trampoline?
No, he broke it in gym class. And I told him, if you're on the trampoline, dude, you got to put the cast back on. He plays tonight. He missed Friday's game. His season debut is tonight, and the kid is climbing the walls.
Yeah, nice.
Soft tossing with him yesterday. He's an animal.
Is he pitching tonight?
No, he has
Not
no
ready
idea
for
where the ball's going.
Oh, okay. I understand that. G?
I'll
hitter.
finished moving into the house. All moved in. Man, listen. Thank the good Lord above. He let me. He provided me limited amounts of energy to move the rest of my things into this home, and I feel like I played a football game. I feel like I tackled people. I took at least 3.5 years off my life just by moving stuff.
Just by lifting the couch.
It does take
That's
years
it.
off
Just,
your life.
just fingers
It really
hurt.
does.
It's not. a
It's
good look.
horrible. Moving is
Yeah,
awful.
the worst. That's why I don't do it. Last time I moved, I paid somebody to do it for me.
Yeah,
I was like,
we
I've
did.
had enough of this.
Yep.
I've moved myself 32 times. I'm done. By the way, I was planning to use my grill and cook out yesterday, but as we go to turn it on, I realized the gas is gone.
No propane? Yeah.
And I wasn't going to go to the store. I don't even know if the stores were open. They probably were. Home
Yeah,
Depot
they
was
were.
probably
Yeah,
open,
yeah.
whatever. But I was like, all right, I'm plan B. I'm cooking everything inside the house. So this is crazy. So I'm cooking chicken thighs in the oven. And then on top of the stovetop, I had corn, burgers, and hot dogs. I basically did this. I'm making a baked potato for myself, some other side dishes. I did it all myself, and I don't cook ever.
Oh wow! Okay.
But it all came out perfect somehow.
Listen.
Thank you.
Your wife gave you something. She lent you something. And she was like,
I guess.
Let me give you a little something,
Yeah.
boo. You might need this. Because I don't know if you could replicate that.
No, that's a one and done type of thing.
You got to go charcoal on a holiday. You got to go charcoal.
I don't have. The grill
They're
I have
cheap.
is not.
Charcoal
buy
grills
another
are
one?
yeah. Charcoal
I'll
grills
buy
are
you a
cheap.
George Foreman.
Yeah, they're like $4.
Oh, don't get out here with that
George
George Foreman
Foreman.
crap. I had one of those in college. About killed myself.
Oh, listen, in dorm rooms, by the way, inside, how was we doing that?
Well, we were in a house, and apparently, I didn't know at the time you're not supposed to eat pink chicken. If it's pink and wet, it's
you
not
didn't
done.
know that?
No. And I was like, it's good enough. And I about killed myself with salmonella poisoning.
Oh yeah,
that's not college. It
listen.
was awful.
By the way, man, your chicken. Listen, people be very that. Can you imagine the links people go through? Men on the grill, y'all be doing all these gymnastics. See what I got? This marinated glaze right here. This glaze, I glazed the chicken overnight for 4 hours overnight, and then when I take it out, I bury it for 6 hours. I bury it in the pit. When I take it out the pit, I put some clothes on it. I put some shoes and makeup on the outside of the package. Then I grill it, and it's the best chicken you ever had. Your grandmother
That's
couldn't
true.
even. You'd be like,
I didn't do any of the extra stuff, but I did soak the chicken thighs in soy vey. Anybody use soy vey?
No.
nah.
Never heard of it.
That sounds like
It sounds gross, but it's actually really good. It's like a Chinese barbecue sauce, I guess, kind of.
It sounds like
garlic in it.
It sounds like a perfume Elizabeth Taylor had.
Maybe.
White Diamonds and now Soy Vey
Yeah.
by Elizabeth Taylor.
By the way, Mikey, you were away for the weekend.
Yeah, I went home to Jersey to surprise my mom. It was her birthday on Saturday, so
Oh,
she had
nice.
no idea I was coming home. And the plan was originally I was leaving Cleveland. I had a 7 p.m. flight. I get in about 8:30, get back to Jersey about 9:30, surprise her. We have a great weekend, yada, yada. Well, my flight didn't leave Cleveland until 12:30. Delays on delays on delays.
There was no weather even. What?
The plane that was taking us from Cleveland to New
Got delayed.
Jersey was in Nashville, had technical issues. They had to test fly to Raleigh, and whole issue. So I get back to Jersey at 3 a.m.
wow.
So obviously my parents are asleep. So I, go to sleep. surprise her in the morning. Except apparently when none of the kids are home, they never close any of the bedroom doors. So my mom at like 6:30 on Saturday notices a bedroom door's closed, and opens it, and I'm like under the covers, and she's like, "Who the hell is in my house right now? What's going on?" So she goes and gets my dad, and I'm sleeping through all this, and she's like, "I almost got the baseball bat to beat the crap out of whoever this was. I almost called the cops." And my dad knew I was coming, so my dad's like, "Linda, that's Mike." Like, she's like, "Oh, Mike." And then I woke up and I got like an hour of sleep, but it was awesome. She was totally surprised. I'm lucky she didn't beat the crap out of me with a baseball bat and call the cops. But
would you take an Uber from the airport?
Yeah, 3 a.m.
How sad of a story would that have been if they like opened fire on him and like just
shot him
murdered
in his own bed?
Like they shot like we just killed our own son. This is
or
crazy.
smashed him to death with a bat.
Let somebody know something, dog. Let
his dad knew.
Let a man know.
No, my dad knew. My dad knew, but my mom had woken up before.
It could have been worse, Mike. When he first said they don't close doors, I thought he was walking in.
I was about to say like, oh man,
this is nobody wants to see that.
This is turning morbid. Like the business was going down.
Oof. No, I was asleep under the blankets, and she thought a random person had broken into the home and decided to take a nap.
Oh my God!
My brother's
It'd be funny if they called the police and you woke up and the police were there.
Michael passed.
But it was a great weekend.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see my mom, my dad, some friends I hadn't seen in a while.
Did you get some good pizza?
I've said in the last week I have fallen back in love with pizza. Between Il Rione on Tuesday and 4 different New Jersey pizzerias.
You went to 4 different pizzerias?
So we had pizza at the barbecue on Saturday. Then we had pizza for lunch on Friday. We had leftover pizza that someone else had on Sunday night, and then I had pizza before I left on Monday.
Jeez.
So
that's good
pizza
work,
and bagels. That's what you got to do when you're there for
true.
72 hours.
That's a good job. By the way, thanks to everybody that showed up at the lemonade stand on Saturday. I was there for about an hour and a half. Anthony showed up with his friend and his mom, so it was nice to meet them. And between that, a bunch of other lemonade stands that were open in Rocky River where people were raising money, and the GoFundMe page, they've raised over $57,000.
That's insane.
Going to help Spencer.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Medical bills and stuff like that. I had a chance to talk with Spencer's dad on Saturday. Really nice guy. I apparently had met him once before because he had been an assistant coach on one of the Little League teams last year. Really nice, and he and I talked. And anyway, the family is very appreciative for everything that everybody did to contribute. So thank you all. Mikey.
Awesome. I'm glad everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. We're glad everyone's back in one piece, safe, and not beat up with a baseball bat. So let's get into some football topics that we have not addressed since we left on Friday. And our first topic today is brought to us by our good friends at Lorain County Community College. Your class is your future. Register now for summer and fall classes. You can learn more at loraineccc.edu. And guys, DeAndre Hopkins is no longer a potential trade target for the Cleveland Browns. He is a free agent and free to sign with any team in the league if he would want.
By the way, as of last night, I read something, and when you brought this up before, it didn't strike me. And then as you're saying it now, it just struck a chord. So we maybe need to double check this. I believe that as of last night, technically, he had not officially been cut yet. Now, he is expected to be cut. I know the word was that he was definitely cut, but I read something last night, and I can't even remember where I read it, and I forgot about it until just now. That said technically he hasn't been cut yet, officially. Although I think we should go under the premise that he will be officially.
So according to PFF, or Pro Football Talk, excuse me, he has not technically been released yet because the league does not post transactions over Memorial Day weekend. So it's expected to be finalized today.
Right. That's what it's expected.
So with that knowledge,
it's possible he could still be traded today, but unlikely. So he's expected to be released officially today. Guys, for me, this is a no-brainer. If you're the Browns, obviously you go after DeAndre Hopkins. The Browns, more than almost any team, this season is more critical to the Browns than I would argue almost any team, if not any team in football. The coach's job is on the line. The GM's job is on the line. Everybody's job is on the line. If it doesn't work this year with Deshaun Watson, I don't even know where you go from here because it's not like you can get rid of Watson. So everybody's going to get fired. And then, for all the optimism we have about Watson bouncing back, it's easy to say it was just 6 games. I think most of us think he's going to bounce back and play well. If he stinks this season, well, nobody's going to think that the year after. It doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but nobody's going to think that. So in my mind, I want to have the best chance to win. And even though the Browns wide receiving core is certainly improved, at least on paper, from where it was at the end of last year, DeAndre Hopkins, even as he turns 31 next week, is still, at this point, better than any receiver the Browns have. I know some people may argue Amari Cooper, and listen, he's missed some time. He was suspended. He's had injuries a little bit the last 2 years. When he's on the field, now that is a bad graphic by those guys. Bad job out of you guys. You got to put the games there. DPJ played the whole season.
We were going to explain that. Don't worry.
Okay.
We're going to explain that.
I think Hopkins played 9 games.
He only played 9 games. That is correct.
So he was on pace for like another 1,300-yard season last year. Okay? Now, is he a top 5 receiver that he once was? Certainly not. Is he still, when he's on the field, at the very least, top 15, top 20? Absolutely. To me, it's a no-brainer. Now, if I'm Hopkins, the Browns wouldn't be my first choice, but they'd be on the list, and the Browns have to do whatever they can to try to get him.
I'm gonna throw this question out to both of you. I was on the way in. I was listening to the radio, local radio, and the premise is a lot of people are saying, okay, is this guy just a name? Is he just a name that we're going after? And what are you willing to pay for him? Are you willing to say, okay, if it's a 1-year deal, I think everybody takes a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. But if DeAndre Hopkins wants a 2-year deal at the age of 31, I think he turns 31 in June, is that something you'd be willing to do?
I would, because, listen, at worst case scenario, look, it is possible he goes over the cliff this year. It happens around 31, 32 for a lot of wide receivers. When he was on the field last year, he showed no signs of going over the cliff. None. By the way, he is the best. Like, he doesn't drop the ball. Even now, he never drops the ball. So if I got him for 2 years, well, after this year, I can move on from Amari Cooper. I can move on from DPJ. There's going to be some openings there. I'm not signing DPJ. I'm uninterested in signing him to a long-term deal unless it's at a really cheap rate. I'm not paying him $10 million a year for 4 years. He's not worth it. So, yes, I would sign him to a 2-year. If that got it done, I'd give him a 2-year deal.
I think they're going to have to go multiple years on him just for cap purposes. And I was talking to Zach Jackson about it on my drive in this morning, our Browns writer. And I am a little bit concerned about the age of the receiving room and adding another guy, as you say, who's going to be 31 next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amari, I think, is 29, 30 in that range.
Yep.
Goodwin, I think, is going to be 32 next year. So that is a little bit cause for concern. Now, if DeAndre Hopkins picks up the phone and says, I want to come to Cleveland, you figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's other places that probably fit a little bit better for him. He's going to want to get paid, guys. Like, look at Odell. Look what Odell got. He's going to say, I'm worth at least 15 to 18. And
he's worth more than Odell. I don't
but
think
that's what I'm
debatable.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, because I keep hearing this talk about a 1-year make good offer or something like that, or that's not happening.
What did Odell sign for again?
15 with an option to go to 18.
Now, doesn't he? What's does the Arizona not owe him anything now that he's cut? They owe him something though, right? So he's still getting that money as opposed to Odell.
Yeah, I was going to ask: is he? They cut him to let him go.
I think he's got some.
Is that guaranteed money given to them by?
Yeah, they're cutting him now so that they just take the entire cap hit now rather than designate him post June 1.
Okay.
They're going to be bad this year, so just eat it now.
Yeah, right.
So they're willing to just eat the dead money now, but Hopkins is going to want to get paid.
Absolutely. I get it. And you probably have to honestly overpay him a little bit with the risk that he's old for a wide receiver. But in the end, to me, because he showed no signs of it last year, he was still awesome. I mean, he had almost 800 yards in 9 games.
Yeah.
That again, it could turn out to be. But the Browns are in a position where they really have to push all their chips into. They already have. They are pot committed.
At this point, they're making more chips.
Yes.
Because all of their chips are already in the middle of the table.
You have to. I mean, look at that. 717 yards in 9 games.
And that was without Kyler Murray, by the way. He played with Colt McCoy and a bunch of slapdicks. First time I ever used that on air. Thank you.
I like that.
Been trying to work that in, Bull.
Way to
it's
go.
my new favorite word I picked up from you.
Way to go.
But that was not with Kyler Murray for the majority of those games.
That's true.
I love the energy. I'm in lockstep with you. Right now, if I listened to it all last week, and they talked about it a little bit. They say, look, hey, this guy is, maybe going to be available. You look at Kansas City, you're looking at the Bills. He may choose those other teams because obviously he may get the ball a lot more when you just behind Diggs, right? He may even be the number one target in Kansas City. So
see, to me, I would disagree. I would argue that in Kansas City, at this point in his career, he's the second best pass catcher. In Buffalo, at this point in his career, he's the second best pass catcher. In Cleveland, even though we have more depth of pass catchers than those teams, he'd be the best guy, in my opinion. He's better than Amari Cooper.
You think so?
I absolutely think so. He's better than certainly David Njoku and the rest of the receivers. Listen, you feel free to disagree. But I think he's definitely better than Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper had a good year last, but you said it.
Did it in 9 games. Amari Cooper had what, 400 more yards?
We're going to pull up the receiving leaders from last year. In 9 games, you could take it full, Steve. He would have been second on the Browns in receiving yards. And once again, the DPJ comparison, as Bull pointed out, DPJ played 16 or 17 games. I don't remember if he missed one. Hopkins played 9.
I'm not going to bury the lead on this. Hey, what sounds really great is having Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins on this roster. I don't care who you think is better. You got him. Right? We'll figure that out when we throw in the football to him.
Having too many guys is not a problem. Marquise Goodwin, bye. See ya. Anthony Schwartz, bye. See ya.
Wait, hold on, Schwartz. Did you guys see what happened to Schwartz this weekend about this?
No,
and I need the tag board right now. I actually feel kind of bad, but we have to talk about this.
I didn't see it.
Do you have the original tweet? Anthony killing me. So somebody made a fake quote from DeAndre Hopkins and tweeted it saying, Anthony Schwartz is someone I would love to play with in Cleveland. And Anthony Schwartz quote tweeted and was like, yes, sir, Hop. And we'll show you the tweets. And I honestly feel bad. He got roasted and pulled over the coals. Anthony, give me the first tweet when you get it up.
Oh, my God. Poor Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah,
why y'all do that to that?
Oh, my God.
That kid got a pure heart. That kid is like,
dude,
he just.
This is what he quote tweeted. Anthony's pulling up the original tweet right now. He really did quote tweet this. And I hate to make fun of Schwartz here, but it was obviously the fakest tweet of all time. Every comment was so fake. And just hold this, Steve. Anthony's going to give us the real one in 1 sec. He's pulling it in as we speak. It was the most clearly, obviously fake tweet of all time. Here it is. That's one guy I've always wanted to team up with.
Look at the font. Look at that font. Jason,
I mean, how on earth are you falling for that?
Callie Bree.
I saw that last night and was like, wait a minute, what? No, he couldn't have. No.
Look how small that little quote. That's terrible.
Yes, sir, Hop. As if they're buddies.
I felt so bad, but we had to mention it. Think
about now again, I agree with you, Jason. Even though I'd be the number one guy in my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, but if I'm him, my first choice is Kansas City. My second choice is Buffalo. The Bengals are not going to be interested.
Right.
And then the Browns would be as good a choice as anybody else. I have a couple people mention the Giants, where he'd be the number one guy, and the NFC got a better chance of going to the playoff, Super Bowl. But I don't know if I'm Hopkins.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think the Browns. Now the question is, what's the relationship like between Watson and Hopkins? Like, if they're really close, then maybe that gives the Browns a better chance. I don't know.
And I've been trying to dig around. Like, hey, man, I've been asking some people, like, hey, what's this Sean Watson's feeling on DeAndre Hopkins? It's like, you said it, Jason. If he wanted it to get done, it would get done.
Hopkins holds all the cards here.
Yes.
He's in control of this whole thing. I have a hard time believing that he would choose Cleveland over all the other options, just for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
I don't think I think other teams could probably pay him a little bit more. The Browns,
Kansas City and Buffalo don't have a lot of cap space either.
No, I know, but just better opportunities, better quarterbacks, better chance to win. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah.
If I'm him, I want to go to Kansas City or Buffalo.
And those are my top two choices.
Maybe the Chargers would be on that list too, with Justin Herbert. And I think he said something about he would be open to reuniting with Deshaun Watson. That's not a very strong endorsement of, what do you want him to say? Like, screw that guy, I'm never playing with him. Like, that's just a very
You think he's better than? You think Hopkins better than Cooper, or you think Cooper's still better than Hopkins?
I think probably Hop is probably better. I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah.
His upside is better. Like, you got to think about it. If you get DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper, then it just changes the way you think about it. Now you get to find out exactly what Deshaun Watson is. You're going to find out because, look, You can't. There's no excuses.
I mean, there's already no excuses.
There's already none.
Yeah.
That's just now. Now it's like, dude, you got the best receiving core that the Browns have ever had.
But now it feels like we're going down the Odell Landry rabbit hole.
But I was going to ask that.
Over
I was going to ask that. Do you think that Jarvis and Odell, compared to what they would have in this receiving core if they were able to land DeAndre Hopkins,
I think this
would be
is better.
comparable?
Even though these guys are older, I think it's better.
It just feels like we never learn our lessons and go get every big name guy and throw him on the team. And it just like Jarvis and Odell didn't work. And listen, these are two completely different receivers.
Yeah.
But just the idea of go get a big name and throw him on the field and he's going to have 1,500 yards.
No,
I
don't think he's going to have 1,500 yards, but I think he could have 1,200 yards.
I do too.
Probably.
And yeah, I agree. You don't always want to go after the big, sexy name. People who brought the same thing up with Zeke Elliott. I don't think he makes any sense for the Browns.
No, none.
But I think this guy fits. And, right now your number 2 receiver is either Elijah Moore or DPJ. I don't know that those guys are definitely number 2 wide receivers.
Hop's an upgrade over those guys.
Now all of a sudden those guys are 3 and 4. And then, David Bell and what's his name?
Schwartz?
No,
Marquise Goodwin?
No, the kid they drafted this year. What's his name?
Cedric Tillman.
Tillman. Those guys sit and watch basically for a year.
If it's the playoffs, McNuggets,
Yeah.
or you fighting for the title in the AFC North, would you rather have DeAndre Hopkins on a 3rd down and 7 or Donovan Peoples-Jones?
I mean, think about it in the end zone.
I'm gonna take
DeAndre Hopkins
I'm
getting to
take
the
that.
ball.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mikey.
I got one comment I want to throw out and then a question for you guys on the Hopkins-Watson relationship. Do you remember the interview Watson did with Quincy Carrier maybe 2 months ago, the first time Watson really spoke? And he said he was going to be in Arizona with Hopkins, and we never heard any follow-up on those discussions, what happened.
Yeah.
But then Hopkins was on a podcast, the I Am Athlete podcast, and he named the 5 quarterbacks he would like to play with. And Watson wasn't one of those 5.
Yeah, that was interesting. Who were the 5? I didn't even see that.
I'll pull it up again. We had it.
It was
give me one sec.
Mahomes.
It was Mahomes,
Allen.
Allen. I'll find the list. But my question to you, while I'm looking for the list,
Yeah.
does DeAndre Hopkins strike you as a guy who, at this point of his career, is in the hunt for a Super Bowl ring or in the hunt for the bag?
I mean, I would think he could have stayed in Arizona, right? If he just cared about the money.
Well, they released
That
him.
wasn't an option.
Well, did they release him because he wanted to go, or did they release him because they didn't want to pay him?
I think he was probably frustrated with the situation he was in.
Yeah.
It's just not
Right.
good. It's not a well-run organization
Without
a very good quarterback.
I'm never going to be critical of a guy trying to make all the money they can. Never. However, if I were DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know, I'm not a superior athlete who's made all that money. But I would think if I were DeAndre Hopkins, who's made over $100 million. Well over. He's probably, and his family is probably set for life. And I'm not saying the Browns should be the choice, but just in theory, I'd rather get $10 million to play in a place I think I can win than $18 million in a place I couldn't. For me, at this point, if this was the first contract he's ever signing, I get it. But he's made so much money. In the grand scheme of things, is it going to matter that $8 million? Is that going to change his life at all? Probably not. Again, it's not my money, and I won't kill him for doing it. I'm just saying what I think I would do if I were in his situation.
Well, let's take a look at what are the quarterbacks he listed.
I got the list. So in order,
Yeah.
and this was from May 22nd, he was on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall and a couple of other guys that do that. It's actually a pretty interesting podcast.
Yeah, okay.
They asked who the 5 quarterbacks he wants to catch passes from next year. In order. Number 1, Josh Allen.
Allen over Mahomes. Wow,
Number 2,
that's
Jalen
stupid.
Hurts. Number 3, Pat Mahomes. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. And number 5, Justin Herbert.
Wow, no Burrow on there.
Well, he probably knew. Obviously, he's not going to get there.
Yeah.
Like he's naming people.
Those are all teams that could need it. That could be interested in a receiver.
Yeah.
None of
Interesting
the
list,
5 he
but
mentioned.
Allen over Mahomes. All right.
And here's the thing too.
Yeah.
If you look at it, they didn't pay Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill's very good. He was expendable.
Right, but that was going to be a long-term deal.
So if he's saying, if I got to look at it like from an organizational standpoint, who is going to give me the most catches? Who's going to have a good quarterback? And who has the ability to give me a deal?
Yeah. I mean, if it's about winning, then the Chiefs are the choice.
Then the Chiefs are the choice.
They're already the favorites to win the Super Bowl again this year.
But if he wants touches and a little bit more money, I would go with the Bills, right? They look like they need. They're telling him, hey, you're the piece that's going to put us over the top and get us to a place where we could compete with the Bengals and the Chiefs. That's where we want to get to.
It'll be interesting. I'm personally hoping he does not end up on either of the Bills.
Yes. No, what are you talking about?
I'd like him to end up on the Browns or in the NFC. That's where I'd like him to be.
Yeah, like because the worst case scenario is he signs with the Ravens.
You see him twice a year.
I think that's unlikely. They've
invested big money already in Odell.
I mean, what kind of salary cap
they
got?
Spend $30 million on two, old receivers.
Well, you're asking the Browns to do it.
Yeah, well, that's what we asking them to do.
At least Amari Cooper. The difference is Amari Cooper's been healthy pretty much his whole career.
Yes.
Whereas Odell has a long hit. I mean, Hopkins has been relatively healthy, but obviously Odell's. I still think it's insane that they paid him $15 million. Insane, but whatever.
I agree.
All right, Mikey, what do we got?
Last thing on Hopkins. Do you think he gets more than Odell? When it's all said and done, whether he's worth more or relevant, do you think he gets more than Odell?
No. I don't think he is more than Odell.
I actually don't think he will, even though he should.
$15 million with a chance to get 18?
$3 million of Odell's is incentives. I think they could probably structure Hopkins to make it look like he's getting more.
Yeah.
When maybe he won't.
He might get more total, like if he signs a 2-year deal, but per year, I bet he doesn't get more, even though he should.
Depends where he goes.
Yeah.
It goes back to the conversation about winning versus finance and which do you value more.
That's right.
But I mean, you can put incentives in there. You can make a contract look like anything you want it to. Doesn't mean he's going to earn all the money. But just for headline's sake and for him to be able to say, I signed for X amount. They could
it could be $4 million guaranteed.
Right.
With 11, 12 million in mostly makeable incentives.
Yeah.
It's a good point. All right, let's switch it up, Mike.
Awesome. We are going to our next topic, and this one I think is going to be really fun and interesting. I hope it works how I plan it in my head, how I foresee it working. Me and Earl had a great conversation back and forth on it this morning. And it's a positional draft for the Cleveland Browns, and we're going to draft what we think are the best positional units on this team. And I'll tell you guys the categories, the potential picks in a sec. But we let the YouTube chat pick the draft order today because we want them to be part of this as well. And we put up a poll.
Yeah.
And to no one's surprise, the first pick has been awarded to G. Bush with 60% of the vote. 60% of the chat, over 500 votes wanted G. Bush to have the first pick.
I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that you guys.
You are the most loved man on the show.
Thank you so much for your kind
So who gets the second pick?
I will tell you after I tell you who brought us the poll results, and that is PCC. Got to add a little drama to this. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? Well, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. With the second pick in the Browns positional group draft, it has been awarded to Jason Lloyd with 24% of the vote.
Jason Lloyd, listen, you are likable.
I am the most hated.
Go.
I am the most hated man. You thought you held that title?
Actually, because
I wanted the third pick.
No.
I'm taking that title from you.
No, listen. The reason they did this is because Adam the Bull. They're giving him an opportunity to show his prowess. The last time we did these, I think I got the number one pick and came up with the worst roster. And they gave it to Bull in a landslide. So he does get you're going to get the third pick as well as the fourth pick.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
So
let's do this.
So Bull gets third. For everybody out there listening, here's how it's going to work. And here are the categories that these guys are allowed to choose from. Snake draft. There's 9 categories. Each person will get 3 positional groups, position rooms, however you want to categorize it. At the end, we'll vote on who put together the best team.
I think a snake draft is unfair with 3 rounds because I get to pick last in the first round, and then I'm screwed with the last pick. There should be a
you get the third and the fourth
there
back
should
to
be a
back.
third round reversal on this one. All right, go ahead. I'll do it.
So the 9 categories, the 9 options.
Yeah, we know that.
You have the quarterback room, the running back room, the pass catcher room. That is receivers and tight ends combined into one.
Yeah.
Offensive line, defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, DBs, and then you have the coaches room. So one more time for everybody out there. You have the QB room, the running back room, the pass catcher room, which is receivers and tight ends combined, O-line, D-end, D-tackle, linebacker, DB, and coaches. So 9 different positions to choose from. You each will get 3.
Yeah.
And after each pick, tell me why you picked them. So, G, with that, you are officially on the clock in our first ever Browns position group draft. And before you go, I want to say one more thing. This is the best, Not projecting. This is what you think is the best, strongest part of the team. So, G.
By the way, I think we should add special teams, and we only pick 9. Then 1 gets left on the table.
He's just trying to get out of linebackers.
The backers.
That is the obvious 9.
Come on, let's do that. I shouldn't get
Fine. You know what? But
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you get who's your returner? Who are we going to consider the returner?
whatever, just the special teams unit.
But Bubba Ventrone's in the coach's office.
That's fine.
So you get just the specialist.
You get the kicker, the punter.
Fine.
Yeah,
You get the
there you go.
specialist.
Armando.
You get Charlie Hughley, the long
You're
snapper.
going to let him wiggle out of linebackers.
No, that's fine.
Let's go.
That's fine. I know
Yeah.
what he's trying to do. I
Yeah.
get it. You're not fooling
Let's
anybody.
go. I shouldn't be stuck with linebackers because I picked last. There should at least be a choice.
Okay.
Shout
Your
out
All
to
right,
choice.
come on. Let's go.
G, you up first.
I
The
mean, easy.
strongest
Schoolyard
position
picks,
group
you get
is-
stuck with the worst kid. That's the way it goes.
Easy money, man. I'm running to the bank. I'm going with D-line or defensive end. I got Myles Garrett. I got Zaire Smith. I got young OG, a.k.a. Obo out there. Listen, I got some young guys, Isaiah Thomas. I like the McGuire pick. I got some dudes out there that can move around. Alex Wright. So I got a lot of pieces and parts so that I could really work with, especially on this pass rush. And I got arguably the best pass rusher in the game in Myles Garrett. So I'm looking at top end with those two, Zadarius Smith as well as Myles Garrett. You're looking at one of the most formidable couples and pairings of defensive ends in the league. I will put that down, stamp it. Number 1 going is the
Wow,
defensive
that's a
end.
bold
room.
move.
Is that who you guys would have taken 1? Yes or no?
No.
I was between. Well, I'll give my pick away. I was in consideration for that. Yeah, that was between 1 and 2.
All right. Now, by the way, this is not just what they've done, but what we project they will do going
Yes.
forward. Okay.
No, it's what we think is the best.
Yeah, it's like, what's the best? Yeah.
What's the best?
Right, but what you think is the best will include what you expect this year.
I suppose.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. You're 2.
Jason with
Oh,
the
no.
second pick.
If Nick Chubb's there, I have to take Nick Chubb. I have to take the running backs. And, you can say what you want about devaluing the running back position, but we're not trying to build a team necessarily. We're looking at just the best positional group. And Nick Chubb, to me, is the top 3 running back in the league. I think he could be in Canton one day. It's a no-brainer slam dunk. For me, it was between defensive end and running backs. And so I will, if Myles Garrett isn't there, I will gladly welcome Nick Chubb to Team Goose.
I like the
Team
pick.
Goose.
I like the fact that Nick Chubb. I was gonna go with that too. It was a consideration because if I know there's not too much behind him in Jerome Ford, but when you got Nick Chubb, you just take the best.
I
running back.
think Ford will be all right.
I do too. I like
I think
Ford.
Jerome Ford probably could be your starter next year.
I like Ford.
What's interesting about this exercise, and let me talk to the fans at home. Which camera should I look at? This one?
You don't look at any of the cameras. You look at the screen.
I
Sell
know
it.
that.
Sell
I
it.
normally
Sell
do,
it.
but right now I'm looking at the camera.
Sell it.
Hi, everybody. Let me tell you that I want to thank you for voting me to pick 3rd. You've done right by me. Because not only at 3, because of these 2 knuckleheads, did I end up with the best unit on the Browns, I also still have the 2nd best unit on the Browns available. I could argue I have the top 3 still available. Where should I turn? I don't know. Let's start with the offensive line, the best unit on the Cleveland Browns. Joel Bitonio is going to the Hall of Fame. He is the most accomplished player on the Cleveland Browns. As great as Myles Garrett is, as great as Nick Chubb is, Joel Bitonio's done it longer. He has played at the super elite level his entire career. Okay? That's number 1. Their center, Ethan Pocic, was a Pro Bowler last year. I think he was. I'm not 100% sure. But he graded high on PFF. He was fantastic. Wyatt Teller was a little banged up, but coming off an all-pro season the year before. Same thing with Jack Conklin. A little banged up. All right, Jed's not fantastic at left tackle, but he's good enough. Overall, the key on an offensive line is not having any huge weak spots. On the defensive end, I don't know. Obo's still a question mark. He hasn't done that much. There's some depth issues there. Running back, yeah, Nick Chubb's great, but he's not good at catching the ball. Offensive line, I got no weak spots. I'm ready to go.
When did
Jedrick Wills like to have a word with you.
Cedric Wills is perfectly solid. Perfectly solid at left tackle. He's a starting caliber player.
Jack Conklin is 174 with the knees of a 206-year-old.
We know it all starts and ends with the offensive line.
This man Bull stole his wife's credit card and upgraded Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills and Madden. Stop using
fantastic.
them virtual coins.
I'm looking right at the camera, people. They are fantastic.
gave him another shield and a spat and a back flap, and all of a sudden he's an 89 overall.
89 overall. Damn right. And we're projecting ahead. You see, Deshaun Watson, the last time he played a full season, was the best quarterback in football. Yes, he was. He had the highest PFF grade we've ever seen, I believe.
You're taking Watson?
He certainly was number one. The quarterback room, you can't win. How can you vote? Nobody wins in this NFL without a quarterback. And I've got a guy who has been the best quarterback in the league. He wasn't last year, I grant you that. But last year is last year. He was rusty. He hadn't played in a while. This year, he's going to be fantastic. He is going to throw a ton of touchdowns. G. Bush has told you a million times he's throwing for 5,000 yards. So I don't know how G. Bush can argue against it. Quarterback, offensive line, you're all set.
Man, by the way, Bull has that voice of the Jehovah's Witness knocking on your door on Saturdays. Like they're so nice. They'll tell you, they'll be like, listen, hey, I love you guys out here. Oh, yeah. What are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you worshiping at?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and Bull's like, I'm Jewish. I don't know. We're not doing all of that. No, you thought you got that off. That was a good try.
I got it.
I like Watson. I like Watson at 4. It's okay.
But the woman on the phone I was talking to today, she was flirting with me on the phone because she liked the sexy voice. I was talking to a woman from the health insurance company. It's okay that you flirt with me. I'm a married man. I'm not going to do anything about it, but I appreciate the flirting.
Who's on the phone? It's Bull from the UCSS. What?
All right, Jason, now that you're in dire straits here for the number 5.
Before Jason goes, any objections with Bull's 2 picks?
I'm not. The Watson pick is a projection.
It's a little bit of a reach. A little bit of a reach.
Now, I thought the O-line was a reach. I think there's somebody sitting on the board that's ripe for the picking for Jason.
A 5 is an easy choice. There's only one option, really, I think.
Well, now y'all putting the pressure on me when you start talking like that. I mean, for me, it's defensive backs. Mm-hmm. Because Martin Emerson, I think, is going to be a stud. I know he only had 1 year, and we can fall into the rookie trap. I think he's the real deal. He's got a massive frame, long arms, can be just a terrific lockdown corner. They already have one on the other side in Denzel. He's going to miss 4 games. We know that. But in the 12-13 that he's out there, he is elite. And when you add Greg Newsome in the slot to that, when you add Delpit behind him at safety, I think that the secondary with the defensive line that they have playing in front of them could be really, really, really good. And just based on Emerson and Denzel alone, give me the defensive backs.
Hey, everybody was saying great things about Greg Newsome after his rookie year. He shit the bed year 2. We'll see if Emerson does the same thing. I don't know. The safety's unproven, and Jason's talking about locked on. We know G. Bush.
Your quarterback couldn't complete a
Come on now.
Your quarterback couldn't complete a pass over 4 yards last we saw him. Just saying.
Greg,
he was rusty.
Saying. Now, Greg Newsome, we waiting on them picks, Jason. We waiting on that production.
Greg Newsome hasn't had a pick since middle school.
It's all right. He's playing slot.
That's his job. All right, G. Bush.
G. Bush, you have 2 in a row, but give us your first. We'll talk about it, then give us our second. So the last pick in the second round, who you take?
Listen, this is very easy. So what you didn't know
I know
is that I put a monster trap card face down. And because I was able to do that, I was able to take one of my monsters from the graveyard, bring him back, because Jason didn't understand that I got to attack his health and life points directly. Now I bring the Dark Magician out. I play my move, Wing Dragon of Ra. No, actually, I'm going to just go ahead with my Yu-Gi-Oh scheme, and I'm just going to take the wide receivers. Give me the wide receivers.
Pass catchers.
Give me the pass catchers.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you for adding additional life points to my monsters. And I have a Blue Eyes White Dragon ready to go. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you what. David Njoku, top 5 pass catching tight end.
No.
Top 5 on projection.
Oh, projection. Okay.
Projection. Now, I think he's going to be involved in the offense a lot more with this passing attack. You already had Amari Cooper. You get a whole year of Amari Cooper when an elite quarterback. Bull said him himself. Bull took Deshaun Watson higher than the receivers because he believes Deshaun Watson will get there. Thus, if I take what my man Bull says and extrapolate that and have the trickle-down theory, that means the wide receivers will be a better group as well. Now, Elijah Moore, you got all the pieces and parts. You got a big receiver in Tillman. You got a guy underneath in Elijah Moore. Guess what? We are now looking competent, and we just talked about it. I mean, if they get DeAndre Hopkins, this looks like another great pick for myself. So wide receivers is a no-brainer, and it can't be refuted.
This was an unfair exercise to some degree.
Oh, would you stop it?
Well, you're a part of this.
I
because
got him!
There's
I
a
got
dividing
him!
line after 7. I mean, there's only 7 decent units on this team.
So-
but I did so well with my first 2 picks that it might overcome it. But, Jason, you're up.
No, he's
No,
got
no,
G.
no.
Bush,
Oh,
G. Bush gets to go again, and to
Oh, there's
remind
only
everybody,
6, so it's not unfair. There is only 6 good ones.
so you-
and
Right.
to remind the people out there, here are the
What do
position
we got
groups
left? We
still
got D tackle,
D tackles, linebackers, coaches,
and secondary.
and special teams. Which Bull
special-
added
sorry.
to this because he wanted a choice
Maybe.
of last pick. So
You
G.
should have a
Bush,
choice. Shouldn't get stuck.
with the
All
first
right.
pick in the last round,
G. Bush,
where you
coaches, linebackers. Linebackers looking good, I think.
Listen, I'm stop it.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go in a place that people didn't think.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm gonna switch it up and go coaching. I'll tell you what. Look, I love the fact. Hey, what was G. Bush saying all year? Hey, it was Joe Woods. Joe Woods. I've been on a grind to get him up out of here since 2019. He up out of here. Now you get a competent guy in Jim Schwartz, who is the father in developing some of those defensive linemen that we talked about. So if I'm gonna pick the defensive line, and I got defensive ends, I want to have the coach to get them in a position where they can get that. Jim Schwartz is that. Bubba Ventrone is well respected around the league as one of the best special teams coaches. Now the Browns special teams, guess what? They were so bad they cost them games multiple times. Running into the kicker. We can't recover onside kicks. Guess what? We happen to have a guy right now that has played here before, is not going to take no games, and is going to be a dude that's going to be ready to go special teams wise. And Coach Stefanski. Now, I've been a Coach Stefanski all the time, but here's my thing. I like what he did in going to the seminar, and my man Jason Lloyd says that Coach Stefanski is a guy that's moldable. He's a guy that is a player's coach, and they'll run whatever necessary it takes to get Deshaun Watson, your guy who you picked, ready to go. So if I take that in his word for it, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with the coaching staff.
All right, Jason. D tackle, linebacker, or special teams?
Well, this is easy. Last we saw the defensive tackles, they were pretty atrocious. But I have faith that they have sufficiently upgraded. Dalvin Tomlinson, of course, in the middle. Siaki Ika is just a massive human being. He'll be on the field. I'm a little concerned still just because
Jordan
what we
Elliott.
saw. Jordan Elliott, Perrion Winfrey still on this team. Do I get to cut him if I take the defensive tackles?
Yes.
All
you
gas,
in
no
control.
break.
Yeah,
Can we
right.
find the break and throw him off the bus?
Togi still hanging out.
Togi will not be on this team. That's for sure. Especially if it's my defensive tackle, he's gone. You have to believe that Jim Schwartz is going to get the best out of this unit, and Tomlinson at least has a record of success in Minnesota. And listen, we're in the 3rd round. It is what it is. I'll take the defensive tackle. I was hoping you would leave the coaches for me. You did not. I'd much rather have the coaches. I'm making a trade, but I'll take the defensive tackles, and I'll count on Jim Schwartz to coach them up.
We left nothing on the carving station.
We're gonna go special teams here because the linebackers are trash.
Oh, I'm surprised you went that route,
Yeah,
boo.
right. Who could have seen that coming? Let me explain something to you. Jason's entire roster, he has only 2 players that have been good for more than 1 year on the Browns. That's it. Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward. That's the list. Okay? In all 3 of his positions. G. Bush took the coaches, including Bubba Ventrone.
Yeah.
Because Bubba Ventrone is an elite special teams coach. The Browns already had a really good young kicker. Yeah, he missed some kicks last year, okay, but he hit some really long ones, including a game winner. This guy's gonna be a top 5 kicker in the league this year. Punter, solid. They improved returns big time in the last year, right? You got all these guys, all these young players that are doing it in returns, and they have specifically signed 3 special teams guys, which is something they've never done in the past. I think the Browns are going to go from below average in special teams, which they've been in recent years, outside of their kicker, who was, I'd say, above average last year, to this year. I think the Browns are going to be an elite special teams unit in all phases. This is complete domination, folks. We've got the quarterback, who's been one of the best in the league, offensive linemen. The offensive line has 4 guys that have been Pro Bowlers, I think, maybe 3. And special teams led by Coach Ray Ventrone. G. Bush, he's picking the coaches. The head coach could get fired by week 5. How much can I trust that? So I obviously have the best team. And
So we will run through the teams real quick. We just launched a poll. Steve, give me tag board full here for Team Bull. Offensive line, quarterbacks, and special teams for Bull. Let me see Jason's team. Jason took running backs, defensive backs, and D tackles. And G. Bush took the defensive ends, pass catchers, and coaches. While we let the poll calculate some votes, me and Earl had this debate early this morning.
Yeah.
Earl had the coaches as his number 1 overall pick this morning. I'm going to let Earl come in and defend
Earl,
his decision
what
to
the
put
hell,
coaches
dude?
at number 1.
like
Earl, the mic is yours.
You think Donovan Mitchell's coaching the offensive?
So okay, listen. When we create content, right? I don't think y'all all the way understood the assignment. This is an entire position group. It's deeper than Kevin Stefanski, Bubba Ventrone, Alex Van Pelt, and Jim Schwartz. I'm looking at Callahan. I'm looking at Stump Mitchell, who I know has a huge impact on his coaching staff. I'm looking at Van Pelt going back to being the quarterback coach, where he truly made his way in the NFL when he was there with Aaron Rodgers. So all things considered, and plus we all know football is the one sport where coaching matters the most. So let me get this strong coaching staff and totality first, then I'll build out the rest of my team.
If the coaching staff is so strong, how come they've had 2 losing seasons in a row?
Extenuating circumstances. I don't know.
Now, you come back.
What was the Chris Broussard report on Kawhi Leonard when he was going through, and he's like, Kawhi Leonard is definitely going to be a Laker.
Yeah.
There were circumstantial changes to make that report not accurate.
Now, in your defense, Earl, you could say, well, they didn't have Jim Schwartz and they didn't have Bubba Ventrone. And I do like the coaching staff, but ultimately, in the coaching staff room, the head coach is the most important part. And I've defended Coach Kevin Stefanski. I know Jason has a lot. We've been 2 of the few defenders of him, period, in Cleveland.
And I didn't take him in the first round.
But come on.
He didn't take him in the first and second round.
At this point, comparatively, like if you compare the Browns coaching staff, the starting guy, the head guy means the most. Like
Yeah, but the rest of the coaches matter too.
they matter,
of course.
but like
They matter.
If Myles Garrett, right? You can't. Let's say Myles Garrett was not very good. Let's say he was the Browns' number 1 defensive end, and he was a mediocre player. But the Browns had defensive ends 5 through 8. They had 8 mediocre guys.
Talking about the wide receivers.
Well, I think they're a little better than that. But let's say you had 8 mediocre guys. Well, you could say, wow, we're deeper than this other team, right?
But
let's put it this way. Who's got a deeper wide receiving core? The Browns or the Bengals? Deeper.
Browns do. The Bengals have a much better wide receiver core, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the top guys that matter. It's the top guys that matter. And the head coach matters more than any. I mean, Stump Mitchell, is he any better than any other
Okay,
running
put it
back
to you this
coach?
way,
Come
though,
on.
boy. Put it to you this way.
Yeah.
Wyatt Teller was mediocre before he got to Cleveland, and Callahan became his
Well,
offensive
you
line
guys
coach.
just spent the killing my guy, Jedrick Wills, and Bill Callahan's so perfect. Why doesn't he get him better?
So why'd you take him in the first round then?
That's 1 guy out of 5. I only need him to be average. Better to have an average guy be your worst guy than have 4 great guys in a total scrub.
Now Conklin, we thought he was.
He still play.
he
He's
was-
hurt. He's been hurt, but he still plays.
You could have said, DeJuan Jones. He gonna take one of their spots.
So I got him as a backup.
Look, see, I would have said that.
I don't know if he's going to eat his way out of the league, but we'll see.
All right, we got the poll
Take you for
results.
lunch there, DeJuan.
For the record, I had D-Ends as my number 1 overall pick, too. So I was in line with G. I was very not in line with the rest of you guys on everything else, which I think is the fun part of this exercise.
Yeah.
There was a top 6 or 7. You could finagle an order spot or 2. The bottom 2 were the clear bottom 2. But it shows us that the Browns are pretty deep. You could really make a good argument that a bunch of different spots could be in the top 2 or 3. Our results today are brought to us by the USFL, by the way. Boogie Roberts will join us here in a little bit remote. They lost again yesterday. They have fallen to 2-5, but Boogie is killing it in his own rights. Check him out, USFL.com. Tickets for $10. A lot of fun for the entire family. And with 233 votes, the winner of the Browns positional group draft, we already know who it is. It's the people's champ.
Fans are embarrassing themselves.
With 59%, Bull, you came in second with 25, and Jason has fallen into the bottoms the cellar of the fans' popularity.
Let's
vote
be
was
honest.
16%.
Our fans don't know what the F they're talking about.
Thank you. You
They are
guys
lost in the soup, these people.
And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We see you, man. We in the building. The belt. I don't need. See, Tybus and the rest of these guys, they pick the belt up all happy and excited. They be winning once or twice. But when you're a perpetual winner, when you're the Intercontinental Champion, the People's Champion, the World Wrestling Federation Champion, and the WCW Nitro, aka / ECW Champion, G. Bush is here. We are here. We appreciate you.
I don't want to hear anyone in the chat bitch about Nick Chubb's carries ever again. None of y'all bitch about Nick Chubb's carries.
Because
getting the ball
you put the cape on
for
him
first.
Jason put the cape on.
First. I took him first.
Just,
I had the best team.
It's just
Running backs, defensive backs.
Nick Chubb could carry the ball 28 times a game.
It's not enough.
And you'd have J&G out here. He should have 30. He should have 30. Why didn't he have 32?
Hey, last year,
100% that was
last year they should have been. They should have ran his tongue ragged. This year, not so much. I don't know.
Nick Chubb has 43 carries in a game, but on the last play, they don't give it to him. Why did he give him the 44th?
He could have got 2,000 yards last year.
He should be number one. Number two is not good enough.
He could have got 2,000 yards last year.
Last thing before we pivot to a little Guardians talk. Did you guys like the draft format? Did you guys enjoy that? Because if we do like it, we'll start doing some more draft stuff to take a regular topic and spice it up a little bit. So
I think we got to have an even amount of rounds, though.
Fair. So like maybe a 4-round?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Okay.
Got to be an even amount of rounds.
We are a learning process and amoeba here at the UCSS production team. So, well, good point. Well taken. And you came in second anyway. So
there you go. Thanks to everybody for voting. I'm just busting you balls. So there you go. Good for you, G. Bush. Congratulations. Impressive victory.
And all my successes.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little Guardians because they had a hell of a weekend, guys.
So Mike sends this text when he sends his, what we're going to talk about, all his subjects here. He's like, are we buying in that the Guardians have turned it around? I mean, it's 4 freaking games. Now, they had some nice wins over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Jose coming through with the big hit on Sunday to walk that one off.
Yeah.
Logan Allen did a great job. And the Guardians had an inning yesterday when they took it from 1-5, I think it was, where it was like one of those innings they had consistently last year, where they were running the bases and getting a bunch of singles here, and it was good to see it. And it was, and these games have been against a Cardinal team that their record's not great, but they're playing much better now. And Baltimore's got the second best record in all of baseball. So it's some nice wins here. They did a good job, but still not scoring a lot of runs. Right. I got to see them play well over a longer stretch before I'm ready to declare them back.
Yeah, the fear was going into this holiday weekend series, if they dropped 2 or 3 to St. Louis and 2 or 3 to Baltimore, they could really be buried. That didn't happen. They took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals on a big win Sunday. That kind of felt like they really needed that.
Yeah.
And then to come back yesterday, I saw Zach Meisel tweet yesterday was the first time since opening day the Guardians won a game by more than 3 runs. Like, just an easy day, stress-free day for the bullpen. Yeah. It wasn't a nail-biter.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. Logan Allen was
wild stat.
Fantastic. There's
the tweet,
yeah. Allen was terrific and just continues to improve as one of the young pitchers. Pitching is not the problem with this team, though. We have to see them hit. And I think Will Brennan had a couple of hits yesterday, finally starting to put things together for him. But, yeah, we need to see more of it. And I know I've been saying all along, June 1st is sort of when you sort of know who you are, and that's still true, and we know who they are. They're a team that's going to struggle to score runs.
Yeah.
They're going to have to scrap for everything that they get, and they're going to have to rely on terrific pitching. And if they give up 3 or more runs in a game, they're going to have a hard time winning that day.
You got 2 guys coming back.
McKenzie
and Savali. Logan Allen he's
staying in the rotation. Yeah.
So who's because they still got the young dudes. Bybee, you got Allen. Which guy is moved out of rotation when you get these 2 dudes back?
If they're all back, the rotation is definitely Bieber, Allen, Bybee, and McKenzie. And then the 5th spot's either Quantrill or Savali. One of those guys goes to the pen if they're healthy. I'm not sending Logan Allen down. I mean, he's pitching better than those guys.
Yeah, maybe you come up with a phantom hamstring or something to buy yourself a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Put someone on DL. I don't know that. I mean, Quantrill hasn't been great.
But
I don't know. It's a good problem to have. There is no clear-cut solution right now. I think by July, a lot of this will sort itself out.
It's possible they go to a 6-man rotation for a short term.
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks till, because because you figure somebody else gets hurt or whatever. They could do that, but there's no way you're taking Bybee and no way you're taking Allen out of the rotation.
I wouldn't think so. Certainly not Bybee.
No
He's
chance.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah. But after the way Allen pitched yesterday, that was his
hard.
best start.
Yeah, I don't know how you turn around and tell that guy now.
No, that'd be
you're
ridiculous.
going to Columbus.
That'd be ridiculous.
Does it bother you that they're 5 games under 500, or it just seems like when teams are under 500, you naturally have this propensity to be like, you're not a real contender.
Well, they don't feel like a real contender, but the reality is there's only 2 teams that are out of it in baseball. Kansas City and Oakland. The Cubs have the worst record in the National League, and they're only like 4 games out of a playoff spot. The Guardians have the 4th worst record in the American League, and they're only, 4 or 5 games out of a playoff, 3.5 out of a playoff spot. The White Sox have the 3rd worst record in baseball, and even they're not totally out of it at 7 games. I'll say they're not. Kansas City's out of it. Oakland's obviously out of it, although they won a game yesterday. Miracle.
They beat Atlanta yesterday.
Yeah, that was a shocker. But so everybody's still in it. Even all these schleppa-dicka teams in both central divisions are horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Minnesota, look at that. I mean, the Tigers are playing
2
games over 500.
games over 5. That's crazy.
They'd be in last place in the AL East.
Yeah. We said the other day the Guardians would be, 15, 16 out if they were in the East?
Yeah.
I'd be so mad if I was Tampa, being stuck in that division with all
Baltimore's
those
got
other
the 2nd
teams.
best record in baseball. They're in 2nd place.
It's crazy.
But Tampa just doesn't spend even Baltimore has spent big previously.
Times, not
previously.
right now, but
not recently.
Baltimore's a heck of a story. I mean, they don't have a lot of big, sexy names on that team, but they're playing great.
And they got
They're
a terrific
really
farm
good.
system too.
And they got good. And their best pitching prospect, Grayson Rodriguez, has been a disaster.
Yeah.
They just sent him back down.
Yeah, the Guardians, I think we know at this point what they are offensively. And even, Tito said something, I think it was after he lost to the Cardinals. He said, hey, look, if yelling worked, I would be yelling at guys all the time, like to see if it would work. But it's not. You just have to go up there, and we got to get here early, stay late, and figure it out. I think even he, at this point, is even resigned to the fact that they are who they are offensively, and that's not going to change much.
Well, the reality is that and I blame myself, and I'll blame Jason too, because we are diehard baseball guys. We should have known the lineup wouldn't be we got caught up in last year, like everything went perfect for the offense, and this year it's not, and we should have expected that. Again, Miles Straw's not a major league. He's not an everyday player. They're not getting everyday production out of right field. They're getting no production out of catcher. Congratulations to Cam Gallagher. Got 2 hits in a game. Big stunner there. He's not a major league player. Look at Miles Straw's awful.
Straw, listen,
He's awful.
And he had half them 10 RBIs in the first
I'm
week.
sick of hearing about his glove. His glove's great. It's fantastic. You can't play a guy every day when your lineup stinks. If Miles Straw were on Toronto, then I could play him every day because I got 8 good hitters. But the Guardians have like 4 good hitters, and some of those guys aren't even hitting. Josh Bell's been a bust. Zunino's been a bust. This patchwork, cheap guys that they sign a free agent, it's not working the last few years. And the Guardians could still end up winning the division because the division is horrible, and they could find a way with their pitching. But it's not going away here. Like Josh Naylor can't hit lefties. You'd get no production out of catcher, no production out of center, nothing out of right field. Every player on this team has an OPS under 800, except for Jose Ramirez, I believe, who's like right at 800. Most of these guys are under 700, which stinks.
That's tough.
There's no extra base production. They're not getting on base like they did last year, and the bullpen hasn't been as good. They've got to make some moves, or they're not a legit contender.
I agree, and we'll toss back right to this conversation in 1 second, but we've officially crossed the noon hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and it's a great time to remind everybody that the lunch hour of UCSS is sponsored by Colleague Companies Championship. You can check them out at the famous Firestone Country Club, July 12th through the 16th. Fun, family-friendly events for everyone, including live concerts every single night. You can learn more at colleaguegolf.com. In hindsight, Bull, you just mentioned something I want to ask about.
Yeah.
You said you and Jason in particular should have seen some of these offensive struggles coming.
Yeah.
In hindsight, looking
Jason
back
in there with me.
2 months ago, really.
Yeah.
What about this do you think you overlooked and or missed when looking at this roster top to bottom?
I think even though I was saying, well, all these young guys played well last year, there's probably going to be some regression. I kind of ignored it. I also ignored the fact that, yeah, Josh Bell and Mike Zunino, I thought, and Josh Bell is still better than what they had, but not much. And I thought Zunino could still really be effective. I should have known it coming off that massive injury last year that he was useless. And then, I don't think what anybody saw coming is that Jimenez has been absolutely awful.
Yeah,
He's been horrible.
Was that I don't want to go to a mirage,
I think he'll be fine in the long. And Rosario's been awful.
Yeah.
But Jimenez especially, Jason. He's been hideous.
And you was counting on his
Big
power.
time.
The people that they invested the most in have let them down. And that's, we talked about it last week. Jimenez, Josh Bell, and Zunino got the big money contracts. I mean, Zunino $6 million, but for this organization, that's a big money contract.
Yeah.
How much different does this lineup look if those three guys are hitting? It covers the Miles Straw. It covers the problems in right field.
Right.
Quan hasn't been terrible. He's fine. Jose's been fine. He's not off to a historic pace like he was last year, but he's certainly not the problem with this team. Rosario is terrible every April and into May. But it's those three guys. It's the investment that they made in Josh Bell, the long-term contract they gave Jimenez, and the one-year kind of see what you got left deal with Zunino. Those are the three spots for me that have really dragged this thing down. If they're getting the production that the money should warrant, things would look a lot different, and we'd feel a lot differently about this team.
I just don't know. I don't know how much we should have expected from Mike Zunino.
Well, I mean,
coming off a massive injury, he's old.
Right, but I'm just saying, we keep talking about all the young guys, all the young guys. The young guys aren't what's killing them. I mean, Jimenez, half the young guys that played last year aren't even here. When we throw out that number of 17 guys making their debut, half of them aren't even here with the organization.
Nobody's really hitting. Jose's been fine,
right,
but not great.
Right.
Quan's been fine,
right,
but not great. Naylor's been okay against righties. He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, nobody else is hitting at all.
Yeah, I know.
I think it hurts, specifically the Guardians, when you look at the way they try to go about getting, the middle of the road guys that are going to hit. Maybe guys that are, a little undervalued that he can get for a nice solid price. Like you said, $6 million is a lot. It kind of reminds me of what they did with Bourne and Swisher, right? They went out and got we went out and got those two dudes, and those were the big splashes. And I don't think, because the way the rest of your roster is constructed of younger players or players you're trying to develop and give an opportunity to. And you're trying to do this all on the run. You're trying to stay competitive. You got to get some veterans. If you miss on just one of those dudes, it kills you.
They can't afford it because their payroll is low. And if the Guardians decide they want to be serious about trying to win, they've got to spend more money. They haven't been serious enough. I haven't been critical enough. I've criticized the payroll at times, but not enough. And it's really hurting them now because they wasted money on Bell. They wasted money on Zunino. In my opinion, they wasted money on Miles Straw. When you're relying on so many guys that have no power, that are relying on guys getting on base and stealing bases and being great base runners, if everything else is not perfect, you can't win. And right now, the bullpen's not good enough. You look at this team and you say, well, who's been better than you would have expected? The only two guys are Bybee and Allen, because we didn't have any expectation.
Didn't have any expectation for
But
them.
if I say, who's been worse than you expected, I can give you 10 guys, maybe more.
I never thought Bybee and Allen would be here as quickly as they in March.
And been really
February.
good.
We never would have thought that they'd be here.
Besides those two, all right, Bieber's been disappointing. Again, he's been okay, but he hasn't pitched like a Cy Young guy. Quantrill's been bad. Plesac, disaster. McKenzie's been hurt. So the rest of the rotation. Has anybody in the pen? Everybody in the pen's been at least a little worse than you would have thought.
Yeah.
In some cases, a lot worse than you would have thought. In the lineup, Quan's has been okay, but I thought he'd be better. You thought I could give you everybody in the lineup without exception. I thought would be better than they've been this year, except for maybe Naylor. Naylor's probably about where I thought he'd be. Everybody else, Ramirez and Quan, just a little below where I thought they'd be. Everybody else is
right field is a revolving door, and then Arias hasn't. I felt like they thought Arias was going to come up and grab a position and be like, okay, we just got to play him. He hasn't really grabbed the position because there's still
he hasn't really had much of a chance until recently.
Now look,
You said the other day, Jason, that you'd move on from Rosario.
That's what I was going to
play Arias or Freeman or whoever every day. I mean, I think it's time. It's 2 months. Rosario's gone at the end of the year. Why are we playing him every day?
I mean,
now?
part of the problem.
He stinks in the field too.
And we've talked at length. We don't need to relitigate the fact that they haven't been able to make any big trades. But because of that, and because of the 40-man roster in the situation it is, you now have top prospects holding utility roles, which hardly ever happens.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt in spring. I talked to Tito and Chris both about this, and they felt like they could find enough at bats for these guys to keep them sharp and keep them fresh. That hasn't happened. Certainly with Tyler Freeman, that hasn't happened. They've made it more of a point to try and get Arias in the lineup a little bit more often, but it's difficult, and it all traces back to the inability to swing a big trade and the clog that you now have.
That's a failure. That's a major failure on their part.
Because
they haven't been able to do that.
You should have. Who was the guy? Mike Freeman a couple of years ago. That should be your utility guy. Guys who don't have to play every day. You can come in and pinch run.
Right.
Be a defensive replacement late, but you're not trying to develop, and you're not. You wonder if it's stunting the development of some of these guys.
I would think absolutely it is.
Because they don't have the opportunity to play every day.
Yeah, I mean, we need to see, if you're not going to make, they put themselves in a situation where they have this glut of talent, young players. Most of them are not panning out when they've gotten their, but they're not getting a consistent opportunity. Like, they keep seeming to change their mind on who should get the opportunity right now. Freeman, and then
they're just trying to find somebody who can put the bat on the ball.
And nobody can put the bat on the ball. They need proven hitters in the lineup, and it can't always be guys at the back end that you hope to get one more year out of Josh Bell or one more year out of Mike Zunino. They got to stop doing that, and I think they have to make a significant trade here to me. But they got to make a significant trade to get a proven veteran hitter. And now it's not easy.
At what position?
But it might, left field, first base, DH, center field, I don't care,
field.
catcher. I mean, anything.
Yeah,
really.
If you had a DH that was just a thumper, he struck out a bunch of times, but he's gonna give you 35 home runs.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see any more of these trades where we're trading veterans for minor leaguers. They have enough minor freaking leaguers. Let's go get it, but it won't be easy because who you trading for. I mean, it is tricky to be fair to them, because the only teams that are out of it, like Detroit, well, you're not going to go trade for Javi Baez and his bad contract.
Right. Baseball.
The Tigers only have veterans who are not that good and young players who they're not going to trade. Kansas City, who are you trading for in Kansas City?
Baseball trades is impossible. Like, if you say we need to go get a bat, and somebody says who, you didn't have to go through the gymnastics of being like, let me see if that person is available. What is his contract? How much money does he have? Why would they trade him and move him? Yeah. It's just tough to it's just tough to do that.
But there are guys you got to. It's not a dump trade like you'd make with Kansas City or Detroit. There are some teams out there that have two good catchers. See what they want for one.
Tampa Bay's got a couple.
What's that?
Toronto, excuse me.
Yeah, neither one's having a particularly good season right now.
I mean, catcher, it's going to be Bo Naylor. There's no point in going out and acquiring a catcher at this
point. Okay, then friggin' bring him up then.
I agree.
I mean, come on already. What the hell are they doing here?
I think it's a matter of not wanting to admit a $6 million mistake.
That's
on
it.
a payroll
God.
that
It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Jason, can I ask a question? And this may be the dumbest question I've ever asked on the show, but I honestly don't know the answer. Is a $6 million mistake in the grand scheme of the Guardians' financials really that big of a deal?
It's not, and it's stupid that they would be worried about
that. The fact that it's 1 year helps. I think the Bell contract could really become a problem if he doesn't turn it around. That's a massive.
He's not going to opt out.
Not at the rate he's going. Now you're on the hook for another 16.5 next year.
Yeah.
But every dollar is accounted for on this payroll.
They're cheap.
And $6 million. I mean, what's their total payroll? 90?
I don't know the exact number,
90?
but it's near the
I'll
bottom
look it up
of the
right
league.
now. Give me one
85, 90?
I thought it was 75, 80.
Nah, it went up a little bit this year.
$6 million is, it's not, listen, it doesn't sink the franchise if they DFA him and move on, which is what I think they should do.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of it's difficult for them to have misses, even of that.
Yeah, what's the pay? What is it?
They have the 25th highest, or I guess sixth lowest payroll at $89.4 million.
Yeah, right around 90.
I never understood when you say designated for assignment. What does that mean?
That means
you got
have
cut.
a week. Not necessarily. When your player is designated for assignment, the team, he comes off the 26-man roster, the active 26-man roster, and then
Comes off the 40-man.
Not immediately, I don't think. Does he come off the 40?
That's how you make room. Yeah, that's how you make room.
Right, you're right. He comes off the active 26 and the 40 man. You're correct. And then you have a week to either send him down to the minors potentially. If it's a veteran, you have to accept it. Cut him outright or trade him.
I think it's 10 days to trade him or put him on waivers. If no one claims him, then you can you can send him to the minors, but he's available for other teams to claim at that point.
Okay.
Right.
And
it happens with veteran players. The Cubs just did it with Eric Hosmer.
Yeah.
The Yankees just did it with Aaron Hicks. But it gives you some time to trade a guy when he's off your roster,
right?
Essentially, and get something.
It creates a roster spot for you immediately and buys you a little bit of time to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. Which is
the route this is going to wind up. At some point, Mike Zunino is going to be DFA.
Obviously, nobody's going to claim him. Nobody's going to trade for him.
Right.
You know.
I just can't believe in the grand scheme of how much money baseball players make, and we talk about Shohei Ohtani maybe getting.
The Guardians are cheap, Mike.
No, I get that. I understand they're cheap, and historically they've been cheap, but like. A $6 million mistake in the grand scheme of things doesn't, to me, seem like something that they'd be so scared to admit they made a mistake on. It's not like the Josh Bell, I'm online with Jason 100%. He's going to opt in, and that's going to be, 17, 18 million next year?
Yeah, it's like it's total of 32, 33 between the 2 years.
Yeah, that's not good. But $6 million doesn't seem like a mistake they can't.
And the money's already sunk, so what's the difference? Like, just play the young guy. I think fans would rather Bo Naylor play, and the Guardians admit they blew Zunino. By the way, to me, the Cardinals and the Guardians have made a few trades with the Cardinals in recent years. They're a perfect trade partner. The Cardinals have 5 or 6 good outfielders. They have Dylan Carlson. They have Tyler O'Neill. They have Lars Nootbaar. They have Alec Burleson. They have what's his name? The kid that started the season, Jordan Walker, I think is his name. Kid who's a big prospect, started the season in the majors. Jordan Walker. That's Tyler 5 O'Neill. Guys. I mentioned Tyler O'Neill. Juan Yepes, they got tons of outfielders. They can't get enough playing time for their outfielders. I think I'm forgetting somebody too.
Maybe the Guardians can hire someone from St. Louis because they also had Adolis Garcia and Randy Rosarina and gave both of them away.
That's right.
So they're doing something right.
Can we make a trade? Go trade for Tyler O'Neill. The Cardinals will trade him.
Hey, McNuggets,
let's go,
man.
Tyler O'Neill. Let's go get him.
He's a 2-time Gold Glover, so you won't have to hear about the.
Tyler O'Neill can play center field.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give y'all credit. Bull just named 10 dudes. He named 10 outfielders for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bro, first of all, that's a National League team. Obviously, you do watch the Cubs, so that helps a little bit, right?
I'm not watching them much lately.
But the fact that, come on, that I'll give you credit, bro. That is very impressive. I wouldn't have not known if them dudes was car mechanics or the head of
mechanic or Cardinal
or Cardinal. I would not know.
You.
That's
but
crazy.
That's it. The Cardinals are a perfect team. They need pitching. The Guardians have a lot of pitching. Guardians need outfielders. Cardinals have. It's a perfect trade partner.
Yeah.
And you can get a guy who's proven. Now they're not perfect players. Tyler O'Neill's not a perfect player. He's a flawed player. So is Dylan Carlson. But they're big upgrades. And what you could do, if you traded for a Tyler O'Neill, you put him in center field every day. And then you have Miles Straw platoon with Will Brennan in right field. You have Miles Straw play against lefties, and you're going to get. Think about how good your outfield would be with Tyler O'Neill and Miles Straw, occasionally with Quan. And listen, and maybe they won't do that because they paid all this money to Straw, which was a mistake in my opinion. Whatever. You can't decide you're going to be a team with a light lineup, and then go with a guy in Straw every day who can't hit. He cannot hit.
Final thoughts before we move on, Jason, or did you get all your Guardians thoughts out?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think we covered it.
Hey, man, listen, chat was like, Bull is on it. Shout out to Harrison Gwynn. We got a super chat, too.
We do, and I was going to read that here from DB-Dog21, excuse me. He said if Deshaun Watson is on from game 1, that threat will open it up for Chubb against the lighter box up front. This is the year he can win the rushing title. Imagine 2020 Watson with Chubb in this O-line. Sheesh. Look at Bull smirking.
I like that.
Because Bull's a child.
You are sharp.
This is true.
Chubb is.
I get it.
But you guys are too, or you wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah, he said, I'm like, okay.
Or maybe you don't. I don't know.
Yeah,
All right, let's switch gears, Mike. What are we talking about now? Give me.
We're
topic.
going to switch gears here. Yeah. I do want to remind everybody that from July 12th through the 16th, you can check out the Call It Companies Championship at the famous Firestone Country Club.
Nice.
Fun, family-friendly events for everyone. You can learn more at colleaguegolf.com. We got Boogie Roberts coming up in a sec, coming off a loss. But first, we had a Game 7 last night that could have been one for the ages. Unfortunately, it was not. It was a dud. The Celtics almost pulled off the improbable, but instead the Miami Heat are heading to the NBA Finals. Jason, I'll start with you. How surprised are you at the dud the Celtics laid at home in front of the Boston Garden crowd in a situation like that?
Yes and no. Yeah, I was surprised. You think in a Game 7 they've got all the momentum in the series that they could have had a better performance. At the same time, Tatum goes down in the first minute of the game, and I think that obviously had a pretty big impact. I'm not saying Boston wins that if he's healthy, but
you're not saying they're not.
It's not a 20-point blowout that it became in the fourth quarter if he's at full strength. So I'm disappointed at Boston. I've said since February I thought they were going to win a championship this year. I thought they were the best team. Admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of Denver throughout the season. I've really enjoyed watching Denver in the postseason, and God, are they good. They're better than I thought that they were.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good finals matchup. But, yeah, I'm disappointed in Boston. I'm disappointed in how it ended for them. And, you know, I think Mazzulla's back. Him and Brad Stevens have a pretty tight relationship. And he was thrust into a really difficult spot. When the timing of it all, when he became the head coach, it was Ime's staff, and they just handed the reins to Joe and said, okay, go. They still have two really talented young players I love in Tatum and Brown. I hope they don't blow it up. I would run it back at least one more time. But they got a lot of decisions to make in Boston, that's for sure. But Kevin Love is going back to the NBA Finals.
And people keep saying that as if he's a huge part of this.
No, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just the
good
fact
for
that
him.
in February when he goes to Miami, and it was sort of like a pat on the head of there, Kevin, have fun in Miami, and now they're still alive and going. He didn't even play last night. Didn't get 1 minute in the game.
Yeah.
But I think he probably will play against Denver.
My Lord, this is I love this for not only just sports in general. I like this to show people that certain things matter. You take a look at Caleb Martin. You look at Vincent. You look at Duncan Robinson. You look at some of the dudes that they had.
By the way, speaking of the dudes, I didn't realize the homeless guy on the Heat bench was Tyler Hero.
Yes. Yeah.
He look like a homeless guy?
Yeah, he's a little down right now.
Kill your vibe.
No, but I mean, they show you this is what it takes a level of player to get to where you want to go. You got a Caleb Martin, 26-10 and 3 assists in a closeout game in the Garden on the road. We ain't got nobody like that. When you look at the Cavs, Jetty's not doing that, and we talk about Dean Wade, and these guys, the Heat, are getting guys that you don't even think are going to show up to ball out. They got Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry hit a couple big shots. Hey, and Bam Adebayo, he changed his game right in front of you, right? They had him started to bring the ball up the court, have him initiate offense, and it just goes to show you coaching counts too. You got an 8th seed. People didn't like the play-in. Guess what? The Heat did the impossible.
I hate the play-in. I still hate the play-in.
Well, it just goes to show
and
you.
they lost the first game in the play-in.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that if you lock in, these teams can beat you. This is how tough it is in the NBA now. Like, this is a new league. All that rest of the stuff where you're going to cakewalk through it, they went through the gauntlet. They won 3 games in Boston, and they could have folded like a cheap suit. Like, they lost on the most demoralizing way you can lose on a tip-in. And guess what? Spoelstra had them dudes out there ready to go. Like, no, we ain't worried about that. Let's go. I see them. Man, listen, it's just it was tremendous.
Teams that are 0-3 are now what? 0-151 in trying to win the series.
I think it's 152.
52.
I think the Celtics were the first team ever to come back down 0-3 and even it up and then lose a Game 7 at home.
At home. Oh, the others did it on the road. They were the first one to get a home.
Shout out to your guy, Joe Varden, who was one of the guys that actually got it right. Caleb Martin was the MVP of the series.
He was.
And not Jimmy Butler, in my opinion. It was 7 people that voted. 4 voted for Butler. 3, including Joe, voted for Caleb Martin.
I didn't even see that. I didn't see the results.
I saw it last night. Reggie Miller spent the whole series talking about Caleb Martin being the MVP, and then he voted for Jimmy Butler.
That is everything Bull just said is accurate.
Right? Caleb Martin was the MVP.
Yes.
Jimmy Butler was shooting like crap for a lot of that game. I don't know. And Jimmy Butler didn't play that great after game 2.
And Vincent played his lights out 2 of the games earlier.
This is crazy. I still think the Nuggets are going to win the finals. Do you guys?
Yeah, I would take Denver.
Yeah.
Denver is so good.
And if Miami wins, it's one of the greatest feats I've ever seen.
What about we'll find out at least early about rest versus rust, right? Like the Heat had to play a grueling 7-game series. The Celtics came back. They get 2 days off before game 1. The Nuggets have been off for, 9 days, 10 days?
It'll be 9 days before they play, and over the last 2 seasons, Denver is 6-0 against Miami, and not a single game has been relatively close.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but that's regular season.
But I'm saying it's a bad matchup.
It's a horrible
stylistically
matchup.
wise for Miami.
Bam is small.
Well, he can't defend. Nobody can defend
Jokic is gonna have enough. I mean, but Aaron Gordon is big. Porter Jr. is big.
But you're playing against the best coach in the league.
Well, when you're talking rest versus rust, I'll take the rest every single time because the rust would last 1 game at most.
Fair.
And I talked to, when I was writing the book, I talked to David Griffin just about, he said it's just a war of attrition. And the more that you play and the more that you get worn down and you expose yourself to injuries, and that's where Miami's at right now coming off that 7-game series. The Cavs where Denver is, the Cavs were always, they would sweep everyone and sit at home for a week, take the week off, and it was a massive help. Now, Denver's a lot younger than some of the Cavs players at the time. They were a little bit older. But, well, of course, we talk about Jokic. He's a little bit older than you'd think he is.
Right. And Murray's still coming off that injury a year ago.
The rest is massive.
Did the Nuggets only lose 3 games in the playoffs so far?
They lost 2 to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And 1 2 minutes. Yeah, and they swept 3 games.
Yeah, I mean they've only played 15 games.
You got to look at Boston a little bit too. I look at that series. I was expecting more from Jaylen Brown. Like you know, Jason Tatum has a hurt ankle. You know he's hobbling a little bit. I expected him to do his thing. 19, 8, and 5. But the crazy thing, 8 turnovers. 8 turnovers.
He was not great. I still really like him, but he wasn't great.
He had a bad game.
It was, I mean, closeout game, and that just goes to show you, if you want to be known as the guy, the man, like, you're going to have to, because I think he does see himself as the man on a team or the best player on the championship team. We're going to be doing that. You got to show up in these closeout games. I give Miami credit, though. They went in there and smoked them, and they played Heat basketball and
Boston
grinded
never
it
made a
out.
run.
Never got any close.
I remember we were talking before about Boston or Miami had a 3% chance to win the series.
Oh yeah, remember that?
What were the odds? Do you know how much could you make if you took Miami at the start of that series?
Crazy.
They were a pretty significant underdog. I don't
They
remember.
were 6-1 underdogs.
Wow.
Like plus 600 to win the series.
Wow.
And for the record, and because I already bet on it, Denver is minus 350 to win the NBA Finals.
Wow.
I would highly suggest. I know it's not a great return on investment, but it is money. Would highly suggest wagering.
What if
you
you
can
bet
afford.
on the Nuggets to win in like 5 games or less? Can you do that?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
Probably. You can bet on anything.
Yeah, you can bet on anything.
What do you think? How many games do you think Nuggets win in it? It's hard to completely count out the Heat, though, because Spoelstra is such a great coach.
We've been counting them out the entire postseason. And the one thing Spoelstra said I loved, after the Game 6 loss, he was despondent. They all were. They were devastated.
Yeah.
And he sat at the podium and said, I don't know how, but we will be ready.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
And he is so good.
Butler
I have so
said
much
kind of
respect.
a similar thing. That was like, I feel like coaches don't say that type of
Man,
thing.
Coach,
I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, it just goes to show you, man, coaching counts, man.
Of course, especially in the playoffs.
Like, when people start saying, well, I don't know if we got a good coach or not, I mean, who else are we going to go get?
Yeah.
Listen, go find somebody.
But it's all about the buy-in from the players. Also.
Yes.
The players totally buy into Eric Spoelstra.
Oh, as they should.
Yeah, as they should.
And I don't like to keep making comparisons. We'll go back and probably there's a segment we'll do later on the show about watching the playoffs. What are your thoughts about the Cavs?
We're going that right next.
Do you see how they fought? Like, these dudes could have, like, you see how they
The Celtics
clawed.
were an 8-point favorite yesterday.
Yes.
I didn't think there was any way Miami was going to win that
They
game.
could have came out there and got blew out by 20 and nobody would have blinked. They'd be like, well, they were done in Game 6. But he had them ready to go.
What do you got, Mike?
Do you want the exact odds for the exact series according
please.
to
Yeah.
DraftKings? The Nuggets to win in 5, plus 265. Nuggets to sweep, plus 380. Nuggets in 7, plus 310. Nuggets in 6, plus 400. Miami.
Whoa, how could it be plus 310 for them to win in 7?
They think it's less likely
That'll go 7.
Then it goes 7, yeah.
Okay, what's it at 6?
Plus 400 at 6, plus 310 and 7.
And then 5?
Plus 265. So they're saying it's most likely a sweep.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it, a sweep?
You're confusing me now.
What was the sweep? Plus what?
Plus 380.
No, the most likely is 5. That's what they're saying. It's
Yeah,
plus 265.
You had me going backwards, yes.
Yeah.
Then
But
the
I
Heat-
don't agree with that.
Do you want the Heat odds real quick?
I would say 5. A
5?
gentleman's sweep. Yeah.
The Heat odds. The Heat sweep,
Yeah.
35-1.
Wow.
Heat in 5, 20-1. Heat in 6, plus 750. Heat in 7, plus 950.
So the Heat are more likely to win in 6 than 7 because they're at home.
Yeah.
I actually would like, if I was going to bet something, I'd bet the Nuggets in 6.
I would go Nuggets in 5. Nuggets in 5.
Nuggets in, I would say Nuggets in 5.
I just think, man, to think Eric Spoelstra can't get his team to win more than one game. I don't know.
Well, here's a bombshell. Do you
Yeah.
guys see this from Woj?
Nope.
What do we got?
Golden State's Bob Myers is stepping down.
Wow.
Which, I mean, it's been kind of, we've written about that at The Athletic at length all year long, that it was probably headed that way, or they could part ways. But Bob Myers has been the architect of that.
Wow.
Of that dynasty. Really a good dude.
Why? Why is he leaving?
Probably just burnout. I'm not that close to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead, Mike.
So we're going to table a topic that we had in here. We'll do it tomorrow instead. Jason, this may be putting you in an unfair position, but I'm going to ask this question. You guys could pass if you want, but if he's a free agent and you're Dan Gilbert, do you move mountains to find a way to get Bob Myers here?
I don't think he wants to jump right back in. I think he wants to take a little bit of a break. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that.
But would you do it if you could?
Yeah, would you?
If there
take
was
out
a
what he
number
wants.
that Bob Myers would take to come right to the Cavs, would you do it?
I mean, yeah, I think you got to make a phone call. I mean, look what he's done.
Hell yeah.
He's done a terrific job of.
He drafted all. How long's he been there?
He's been there.
He's the architect of that whole
He
dynasty.
drafted all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guys.
Yeah. Hey, his only bad pick is what? Wiseman's?
That one hurt.
Bad.
That one hurt.
Because that could have reset the dynasty.
Yeah,
That was the reset. That was the reset point.
That was Detroit missing on
Carmelo.
and drafting
Yep, exactly.
Darko when they were in a position.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I have a ton of respect for Bob Myers. I think he's done a great job.
But does the Wiseman pick means he's lost his fastball?
Everybody misses. They all miss.
Yeah.
It just hurts when you miss that high. It really hurts.
I mean, was it number 1?
No, he
Number
was
2.
number 2.
He was number 2
Yeah.
in front of LaMelo Ball behind Anthony Edwards.
Imagine Anthony Edwards on the Warriors.
Who else went in that draft?
Or no, Edwards was number 1 pick. in
Edwards
the
was
draft.
1.
Yeah.
So Edwards was 1. They took James Wiseman 2. LaMelo went 3. Is there any other of note guys after those dudes? Because that'll tell.
Yeah, give me one. I'll look it up.
I don't
One
remember.
second.
Because that'll tell me if it really hurt. Like it was somebody good.
By the way, I got
No, it's a terrible pick. But it's the Okoro draft, so it wasn't a great draft.
No.
Okay.
So it went Edwards, Wiseman, LaMelo, Patrick Williams, who's been a pretty good player, Okoro, Okongwu, who is a better center than James Wiseman,
Okay.
Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin, Denny Advia, who none of you guys knew last week besides Bull,
I
'cause
knew
he's
him.
Jewish.
Yeah.
I got you. Devin Vassell and Tyrese Halliburton late. They could have had Halliburton with that team.
Is it a Devin Vassell? It's Vassell?
I thought it was Vassell.
Maybe. He's good.
Well, Halliburton's the best player in the draft.
Well, Halliburton and Vassell are both good players.
I mean, but if
Yeah.
you if
Halliburton's an all-star. He's
yeah,
terrific.
I mean, if you missed on him,
But
about
it's hard
10 teams missed on him.
I mean, it's their job to know. It's
Right.
their job to know. But when a guy goes 9 and you're like, oh, you should have taken him at 2.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
but
and
let me
7
ask-
other cats.
But let me, by the way, speaking of the draft, something I had no idea, I don't know if any of you guys knew this. Did you know that, I don't know when this started, sometime in the 1940s, through 1965, I believe, whatever year Rick Barry was drafted, I think it was 65, that there was a thing, this is wild. If this went on today, this would be a massive advantage for teams in Ohio, especially with football. So from the 40s to the mid-60s, there was a thing in the NBA draft that you could give up your first-round pick, no matter where you were picking. Now, I don't know how they decided who made the choice first, but if you had a player that lived within, I don't know if it was 100 miles, within a certain amount of miles of your hometown team. So in other words, if you lived, maybe it was 200 miles, I don't know what it was. So in other words, the Browns, in theory, if this happened in football, could give up their first-round pick and just take the best player at Ohio State.
Wow.
So, and the reason I found this out, it was called like home team pick or something. The reason I found this out was because I was looking up Rick Barry because I was interviewing him recently, and I looked one spot, it said he was the 3rd pick in the draft, and another spot said he was the 5th pick in the draft, and I was like, how the hell did that happen?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
Well, that's because that year there were 2 players taken before the draft technically started. And by the way, I think there were about 25 players drafted in this way, and I think half of them were Hall of Famers.
Wow.
Did anybody know this existed?
No.
I did not know.
This blew my mind when I saw this. And then eventually they were like, well, this is unfair to certain teams.
Yeah.
So they stopped doing it. But anyway.
Can I weigh in real quick on the Bob Myers thing?
Please.
Yeah.
So, G's mentioned it. We've all talked about how, with the current construction of this team, the Cavs have to find ways to improve on the fringes, essentially. They're not going to be able to make a massive move here that's going to completely shake up. I mean, they could make a massive move, but we don't expect them to. And I don't know all the aprons and the layers of the new CBA agreement, but I was listening to a podcast, and they were explaining the other day how, with this new CBA, it's going to be extremely difficult for teams to build a roster with more than 2 max guys on your team. Like, it is so hard. And Jason, I know you probably know a little more about the tax aprons but this whole new CBA is going to make it really difficult. A guy like Bob Myers, throughout his career in Golden State, had shuffled the deck in ways that people looked at first like, the hell are you doing? Like bringing in Andre Iguodala when they already had Curry and Klay Thompson on the wings as another guy who needed the ball, who eventually fit in perfect. He did a better job, in my opinion, than anyone else in the league at evaluating guys from other teams that would plug in place into their system perfectly, even though they hadn't shown that exact skill set before. It's probably unlikely, and Jason's probably right, that he wants to take a year off, survey the landscape, then get back into it. And I know Kobe Altman just finished 2nd in Executive of the Year voting.
Meaningless.
I agree.
If there's a number he'd be willing to come to Cleveland for, I think that could be the equivalent of the Browns signing a Jim Schwartz to completely spearhead the defense. Bringing him could completely change the future trajectory of this franchise, knowing you have a guy that is as good as he is at working those margins, even with the Wiseman missing.
To me, it feels like, and maybe it's not the case anymore because he's not running the team the same way he did, but to me, it feels like Dan Gilbert would never hire a guy like Bob Myers because he doesn't like anybody in his organization have that much power.
Well, that's how it used to be.
Is it not that way at all anymore?
No, I don't. Dan is not. Dan's not Dan anymore. I can't say it any differently than that.
Okay, gotcha.
Things just run differently there.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kobe's got full control. Kobe's got the best seat of any of the GMs under Dan because he's got all of the economic power and the finances that come with it without nearly as much of the interference.
I think.
By the way, there's a lot of our fans right now saying, why would we get rid of Kobe? He's done a good job.
Well, I think he has. Kobe, early on, I disagreed with a lot of the moves that they've made, but recently, I think he's done a fine job. Like I'm not in any rush to move on from him.
Well, I mean, here's what. This is tough to say. I would argue that the Cavs, with LeBron James having one championship after he had to come back a second time, is a travesty. If you have the best play, like we've seen when Bird and Magic was the best players, how many rings was they winning? They were in contention for years. When Jordan was running,
and they had to deal with each other.
When Jordan was doing his thing, he was in contention for 10 years.
LeBron was in contention for 10 years.
Some of them rosters that they built around LeBron the first time were laughable.
Well, that's true.
Those were laughable rosters. And to be honest with you, when he came back, it wasn't the fact that we were terrible. It was the fact that they bungled it again. They traded Kyrie. Like, they bungled that move again in the front office. Then we ended up with a bag of mixed parts with Rodney Hood and Clarkson. So my thought process is this. Yeah, you're doing okay now, but I'm always in the NBA, you got to be, more than any other sport, you got to be looking above the horizon. When you watch Brooklyn, when you watch some of these other teams, I realized in my heart of hearts, basketball was just different. If you have a superstar, you better be thinking about today and today only, because that whole window thing, these dudes wake up one day and be like, yeah, I want trade me to so-and-so. All of them do it. I've seen it happen. I knew it was different when Kawhi Leonard won a championship and he still left Toronto.
Yeah, right.
So my thought process is, if you got Donovan Mitchell, you better be in the Eastern Conference Finals if you even want a shot at re-signing him. And I still don't think he's going to resign, period. So what are you going to do? Kobe Altman, he going to get an opportunity to show whether he really got the Midas touch.
Yeah.
But because I don't see the assets, I don't see the money, I don't see all of that. So we're going to figure out what they're going to do between now and when he has that 1 year left.
Kobe has done a pretty solid job in the recent years. However, in the end, if you had a chance to get Bob Myers, you fire him and hire Bob Myers.
Yeah, what I said wasn't anti-Kobe. I just think
Yeah,
Bob
right.
is the best of the best. If you get a chance to somehow upgrade from good to the best, if
But
it's possible, I'd make the move.
People don't want to hear this, but Bob Myers don't want to come to Cleveland.
There it is.
That's true.
I was just in.
He has his choice of where he can go.
I'm in Oracle. I'm in California, bro, and I had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. If I was going to do that, I'd just stay out here if I wanted to.
Now,
do
the Cavs will spend as much as any team in the league. That's not the issue. But
Am I trying to do that?
Like it, and I hate saying that. I'm a Cleveland guy. I chose to stay here. Like, I love it here. I will die here. I enjoy being here. But I understand the reality of, if you're not from here, you don't want to come
Right.
here. Like,
Well,
if you have your
I
choice,
am not from here, and I've fallen in love with Cleveland, and I'm probably going to live at least till my son's out of high school, at the very least. I might retire somewhere else, who the hell knows, but I'm planning, you never know in this business, but I'm planning to live here the rest of my career at this point. And I love Cleveland, and it is a great place to raise a family.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. But I don't even think it's just Cleveland. It's the upper Midwest in general.
Yes.
They're not
Yeah.
desirable
Yes.
places for younger people or whatever.
And it's no knock.
The weather sucks in the winter, and
For every Jose Ramirez you get that takes less money to stay in a Midwest city, you got 9 guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard that say, no, I'm
wanna
going
go,
back to
especially in
California.
basketball.
it's just especially in basketball.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of what he's dealing with.
It really is, because basketball, like football, it's not as big a deal because you could spend 7-8 months somewhere else.
Yeah.
Whereas basketball, I mean, the season takes forever.
And it's the worst months. It's the winter
right,
months.
right. Yeah, the only time off is in the summer,
Right,
and who
right.
cares where you are?
And basketball, by the way, you talk about playing on them games of baseball.
Yeah.
Basketball is sneaky long as hell.
The NBA season is longer than the baseball season, even though there's less games.
So they play in the summer because they continue to play. Don't have it be Olympics. Then you get to training camp. Training camp is like September.
Yeah, now
Games start in October.
Hey, when we were covering them, when I was on the beat, Game 7 was Father's Day, June 19th.
Yeah.
The draft was a week later. Like, we had to jump right into the draft. Now, I don't think they had a pick, but
and
still.
training camp starts in 3 months after the season.
And then you have summer league. So and free agency. So the Game 7 was June 19th, and then the draft, and then free agency, and then summer league.
Yeah.
By the time I could shut the computer, it was like middle of July, about July 15th, 16th, and we were right back at it middle of September. So you got 2 months off.
That's crazy.
Well, the players have
That's
a little more. The veteran players have a little more time than that.
But
they're not covering the team.
But
that same
those
way.
guys are
Well,
playing.
right,
Those guys are training. Like, think about it. Those guys is training.
Yeah.
Getting up shots, doing open runs.
Most guys take a couple weeks off after the season, then they're right back in the gym.
That's crazy.
In New York or LA or
Right.
Atlanta, not in Cleveland.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
two
Mike.
things. We got Boogie. He just texted me. He'll be on in about 5 minutes. So we got some viewer questions we're going to ask here. From the
Okay.
text line, by the way, you can get daily show updates. If you text the word show to 216-435-1590, it'll be daily updates. And sometimes, if we have a few minutes to kill, we'll check the line, see if anyone sent us any questions, and we will be able to answer them. It won't be every day. We won't answer all of them, but we're going to try to get to a couple. And a reminder today to our favorite people in the world, our coaches tier members, no overtime today. We're doing a tag board demonstration for the rest of Tegna to hopefully lead us to some improved tag board functionality back here in the future. So no overtime today. We'll
I
be
think
back
that's an
tomorrow.
overshare, Mike. I got to be honest with you.
I just want to tell the people what we're doing. It's not that we're forgetting about
Peek
them. We're not
behind the
shorting any
curtains.
content. That is what we are doing. We'll be back tomorrow with overtime. So this is a question. I have no idea who it's from. I don't want to say their number out loud.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put their number out. But
Make
this
sure you
is from,
say put your name in there when you text.
yeah,
them.
if you send us a question, send us your name. This came in earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Is Brian Reynolds an option to get as an outfielder? What about Adley Rutschman as catcher, Corey Seager at shortstop, or Kyle Schwarber? Would any of these players be able to help the Guardians or could we get any of them?
No.
Well, Reynolds just signed an extension.
So, just got an extension.
Adley Rushman.
No, the
There's
Orioles
no
are
way on
not
earth the Orioles
trading
would trade
Rushman.
him.
No.
The Phillies are not trading Schwarber. And
Seager
the
makes
Rangers,
a ton of money, and they
and
just
Seager
signed
makes
him.
a ton of money. Right.
Dang, they just shut
And
all
those
that
teams
down.
are all good. Except for the Phillies are not playing well. Who was the first guy again? Oh, Reynolds. The Pirates aren't very good, but they just extended him. They're
signed
not going
him.
to trade him.
Right.
And the Phillies are not playing great right now, but they're not going to trade Schwarber. I mean, obviously Schwarber would be the perfect player for the Guardians.
Oh, another lefty.
Yeah, but he just, he's got massive power.
Yeah.
Both spent 3 months campaigning for Brian Reynolds before the year. So,
but they stayed. No, Adley Rushman. I mean, that's the craziest of them all.
Yeah, that's not
Orioles would never trade that guy. I like the guys. I don't want to kill the guy. He's trying to be like, can we find some guys? But no, none of those guys fit.
yeah, I don't think financially either. I don't think they'd be able to. Because Seager signed a $300 million contract.
Yeah,
didn't he?
right.
Yeah. All right, next
But
up.
I don't even think they want to trade him anyway. He's a good player.
Rangers?
The Rangers
And
are
they're
in first
good.
place.
They're playing well.
They
They're
have
not
the
gonna trade
best run
Corey
differential
Seager.
in baseball.
But yes, the Guardians wouldn't trade for him anyway.
Next.
Yeah.
I don't know how this started. I'm not sure where it came from, but the question comes from, why does Jason hate the play-in?
Oh, I mentioned earlier, I
I'm
don't like
with
the play. I just think that you're even more diluting, like everyone talks about. I don't think a team that wins 38 games in the regular season should be able to make the playoffs over a team that wins 43 or 44
Yeah.
based on one game.
The
And
play-in blows.
I don't like it. It's not going away.
And by the way, the Heat were the 8th seed, right?
No, the Heat were they were the 8th seed, but they lost their first playing
Right,
game.
but had there been the oldest original 8, they still would have made the playoffs.
Wait, were they the 7 or the 8?
I think they were
think
the
it-
7 because they hosted Atlanta.
Yeah, they were the 7.
That's right.
Atlanta
so
beat 'em.
either way, they would have had
They
a
were
different
in.
path.
They would have been
but
in.
they would have been in anyway.
Yeah.
And it sucks. As you said, the regular season was already meaningless. Now it's even more meaningless.
I don't think a team that finishes 10th in its conference should make the playoffs.
That year, it was fine, but then they should have just left it at that.
Yeah, it's not going away though.
No.
It's here to stay.
Yep.
The next one. When are we all going down to Canton to watch Boogie as a big UCSS family? And this was from a fan, and we've mentioned that we should all go down at some point. We could ask Boogie in a sec when he joins us, but we do got to pick a Saturday and make it down to watch Boogie.
G, Canton guy, you going?
Yeah, where's the last game?
I think he said they had 4 in a row at home. They played this weekend, so maybe 3 more.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
We should do it. Now, how big is now the UCSS family is huge. Like that, we got cousins.
Yeah, I don't know if Boogie got the player comp tickets for all of them.
The family is crazy. Now that means we got to
Tickets are only $10.
we got to get Jay off the boat. Mike Pope got to stop telling stories, telling like jokes. I mean, I don't know if Brad is.
Wait, real quick. Did you see the story Polk did yesterday on the news or the other day?
No.
He awarded the best pothole in Cleveland award, and then went out and literally measured potholes. And then it was the most Polk story of all time. I was laughing so hard.
That's
I
crazy.
can't believe he gets paid to put that on real TV.
It is amazing.
Facts, right?
We need more of that instead of the boring stories that are usually on the news.
No, I know it was funny. That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
it was like robbery, police news, and here's Mike Polk measuring potholes in the middle of Euclid. It was amazing,
That is funny.
and he made it funny.
Are you guys getting these too?
What?
I've been getting these like I get these tweets like these different candidates asking for money. Like today it's Gavin Newsom. It's Gavin.
It's Gavin, like he's texting you individually.
Will you pitch support to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ahead of tomorrow's end of the month deadline? What is the deadline? Are you asking me personally to like contribute to the debt ceiling, or what are you talking? Like, what are you talking? Like, it's crazy. And then it'd be like it'd be like yesterday was Mitch McConnell. They say, hey. It's Mitch over here. And I'm like, this is
So
crazy.
you're getting it from Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, I'm getting
They're very popular with both groups.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if they've been listening to my takes, bro. They just be like, listen, you know, we got him. We think he might be the Black Candace Owens. Listen, the male
Black
version.
Candace Owens?
Male version. But that would mean you'd be Jason Whitlock, though. But so it's the same. Yeah.
We got 2 more. As soon as Boogie hops
Yeah.
in, we'll bring him in. If not, we'll just keep filling. But Boogie texted me and said I'm working on it, so
right.
I do have confirmation. And Boogie's in the chat right now, so we'll do one last one. Then we'll bring Boogie in. What's up, Boogie? I can't hear you, but I see you saying what's up. For $18 million, would you sign Hopkins?
Yeah.
Do they have the $18 million?
There's always a way to make it.
If they have the money, to me, money is no object.
On a 1-year deal, I would do it.
I don't care what he wants.
Okay.
We bullied him. We twisted his arm. You know, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't think it'll cost that much, but in the end, I'm not going to let money stand in the way for my team getting better. I can't.
They have so much invested in the receiver room already,
It's
and
crazy.
they got to pay Amari Cooper $23 million over the next 2 years, or $11 million for him to go away. Like you could say the cap is fake, and it is at times, but at times it's not.
If you do that, you let DPJ walk, right?
You probably have to trade him. You probably trade him. Like if you sign Hop right now, you probably trade him.
Oh, in fact, you would. That would make sense. Yeah.
When did this happen? How did y'all just come to that conclusion?
I actually agree with that. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah,
keep them all for 1 year. It depends what you get.
I mean,
Maybe you can get a linebacker for him.
Unless you're projecting him to not get as many touches and you let him walk for
well,
free.
Hop is going to replace DPJ.
Yeah.
If to me, Donovan Peoples-Jones is now your 4th receiver. So if I can get something for him, I would trade him at that point.
Wow.
That's how I look at it.
Well, hey, chat. If it's DeAndre Hopkins or Donovan Peoples-Jones, which one
what
y'all
are you getting
picking?
for Donovan Peoples-Jones? A 5th-round pick?
Probably.
Would you rather have
4th or 5th
DeAndre
rounder.
Hopkins and a 5th-round pick or Donovan Peoples-Jones? Seems pretty easy to me.
Hey, give me a 60.
Now you don't have to trade Donovan
Give me the
Peoples-Jones.
60-second
have to.
poll.
Let him play out
You
and
don't have
walk.
to.
But
Give me the 60-second. This is new. I didn't know that y'all was trying to trade DeAndre or Donovan
think you have
Nobody
to,
is. Nobody's trying. I don't think any of this is realistic.
Marquise Goodwin, you could just cut.
I'm just
There's no
spitballing.
guaranteed money there.
So
Well, because remember, like if you added Hopkins, then you'd have Hopkins, Moore, Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
You have David Bell. They're not cutting him after 1 year.
Well, right now, I think he's the odd man out.
Oh, you think they might cut him after 1 year?
No. I'm saying if you bring Hopkins in, like
Right.
you're only keeping at most 7.
Well, I
and
think
likely
Marquise
6.
Goodwin is gone. You're not
Possibly.
You didn't guarantee him
Well,
any money.
maybe.
What's his name? The return guy you signed last
Jakeem
year.
Grant gone.
I've said
Schwartz
that,
gone.
and everyone yelled at me. I said Jakeem Grant's
Hey,
not
he's
making
gone.
this team.
the consequences of D-Hop, you still want him? If it means losing Donovan Peoples-Jones?
I don't think you have to lose Donovan Peoples-Jones, but they might. They would. I would think consider it if they did sign him. Go ahead, Mikey.
All right, it is time to welcome back our favorite recurring guest at the moment. It's our guy, Boogie Roberts, joining us from Canton. By the way, USFL games are in Canton this week. $10. Check them out at USFL.com for all your tickets. Fun, family, friend for everyone, USFL.com. You can check out Boogie and his Pittsburgh Maulers.
What the hell kind of wizard
coming up next?
curtain are you in front of or behind? What is
Hey,
that
man,
thing?
I told you to stay out the...
Now you see me, now you don't. Next thing you know, I might be in the chair right next to you.
hey, 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 Boogie, do not. I better not catch
Wizard
you.
of Oz.
I better not catch you down in Highland Park in Canton, bro. You stay out the projects, bro. When you get, don't be around here creeping around. Listen, you got your little time. You gotta save your energy. Don't be around there moving like that.
I got you. Shirt off, thirsty.
Boogie, who was the what was the best trash talk on the field this weekend? Is there anything good?
Oh, the best trash talk. Ooh. Besides people calling me Hollywood and movie star and what I'm doing on the football field, besides that, it wasn't. I got the respect of my peers pretty much. They don't really trash talk to me.
But like, did you overhear anybody else trash talking anybody, or did you trash talk anybody?
The other team, they have a center. He's known for like singing all the songs like that's playing on the jumbotron throughout the break. But this week, they played like 4 songs. He was just standing there quiet. I said, "Yeah, you don't know these songs, do you?" I said, "You can't sing." I feel like it's singing give him superpowers. So that was pretty much it.
That's good. That's good. Well, you guys took an L this week. How was the game for you personally, besides taking the L?
Well, first and foremost, I'm just blessed I came out healthy. You know, I had an ankle injury bothering me the week prior, so just being able to come out of there fully healthy was amazing. Personally, you know, I did my job. You know, it was hard to duplicate the game before. The week prior, I had 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack. You know, at a nose guard, that's rare. So I didn't get those stats, but I still had a couple tackles. I had a TFL. And there's always plays that you feel like you could have did better on. So just want to improve. We still have the opportunity to make the playoffs if we win out. So everything we want is still in front of us, believe it or not, 5, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Boogie, we had someone in the chat ask us earlier when we're getting the whole UCSS fam down to Canton to check out one of your games. Are you guys home the next 3 weeks? And if
The
so,
next 3 weeks.
How can we put together a little trip here?
The next 3 weeks, we're home. You just let me know. The UCSS fam got tickets on me. So when y'all want to pull up,
Nice.
I got can get y'all some little on-field pregame stuff. This show has been a blessing for me. These last few home games, there's always somebody in the stands saying how proud of me they are. They watch me every week on the show. I had a dude bring me a poster last week, saying he can't wait to watch me on you guys' show again. So it's been a blessing. So I would love for you guys to get down there. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All
Make
right,
me
man.
come find you now.
There are Boogie Roberts posters. Where do we get these?
So they made them. They make them and bring them. So if you guys want to make
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
take you back to arts and craft days back in 3rd grade, come on.
Hey, man, Boogie, this is crazy. We was talking about this the other day, and I was arguing with some people on Twitter. Like, they were saying it's a big deal that Myles Garrett wasn't at, like, they was going crazy. Myles Garrett wasn't at OTAs, right? And I was trying to tell them, like, look, bro, like, Myles Garrett, yes, he's not going to be at OTAs, but when you look at, like, some of the other guys in the room, guys that are undrafted free agents, guys that's trying to make rosters, guys that might be from the XFL, USFL, wherever they are, arena, like, those guys are going to be out there taking them reps. And they're going to be taking them reps for their livelihood. Like, if you were out there and from your perspective what you plan, does Myles Garrett not being there influence you as a person trying to make a roster? Like, at what point does that register? Or you out there like, listen, I'm trying to feed my family. I don't care if Myles Garrett show up tomorrow or not. I got to figure this out.
Saying that nobody's bigger than the program, but let me tell you this. There's some guys that are bigger than the program. You get what I'm saying? He's one of them, but not in a bad way. He's proved everything. He's reliable. He's dependable. You can count on him. He makes great decisions, off the field for the most part. So there's no reason for him to be at OTAs like red flag, because those are for guys, like you mentioned, from the USFL, XFL rookies, trying to get those reps. Because, if Myles was there and taking those reps, other guys wouldn't get opportunities to progress and get better and get real live reps. So he would kind of be taken away from those guys. So I don't think people should get worked up. And I believe you're right. It's not a red flag that he wasn't there, because a lot of big-time guys don't go to the voluntary OTAs. I know Aaron Donald, when I was there, he wasn't there at OTAs, and he came back and still had 16 sacks. So it'll be all right.
Boogie, interesting this week, in the last week, the NFL announced that they could flex games into Thursday Night Football late in the season. And players, it always seems like the players don't love Thursday Night Football, but interestingly, on their podcast, the Kelsey brothers, who obviously have been around a long time, Jason and Travis Kelsey, who are both from this area, they both said they love Thursday Night Football. They love playing it because it's a light practice week, and then they get a bye kind of at the end of it. And they like games being flexed because when they're not playing on Thursday, they want to watch a good game just like the rest of the fans. As a player, I don't know what your shortest turnaround has been in your career in terms of playing. Would you mind playing Thursday night games? Like, do you think it's a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal when you bye week, the extra few days on the back end.
Yeah.
I think it's more so of a big deal when you have a team that has a lot of injuries. You don't get those extra few days you would to get certain guys back as if you were playing on a Sunday. But if your team, you have no injury bug that's biting your team, there's no problem in that game, because you get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off before you start your next work week, or you might have a bye, so you'll get 10 full days off. So it's really pros and cons, just depending on how your team is constructed at that time.
All right, Boogie, who you guys got this coming weekend? Who are you playing this weekend?
We're playing the Houston Gamblers. They have the number one rushing team in the USFL. They have a great running back in Mark Thompson, and we have the number one rushing defense in the USFL. So something's got to give. Also want to mention that this Sunday, I believe, is the Ohio Football Legends Day in the USFL. So about 15 former Ohio State Buckeyes and Cleveland Browns will be at the game signing autographs and things like that. I got a list for you guys to name off some.
Nice.
Jim Tressel, Cardell Jones, Wyatt Teller, Eric Metcalf, Greg Pruitt, Frank Manafield, Hanford Dixon, and others. So those guys will be at the USFL game. I'm sure you guys are more familiar with those guys than me, but they're legends. Some Buckeyes, some Browns. So they'll be here at the Sunday game, the New Jersey Generals game. So if you guys want to come out and get your autograph signed, they'll be there taking pictures and things like that this Sunday, the Ohio Football Legends Day in the USFL.
Nice. That is cool. A great list. Go ahead, Mike.
Boogie, I got one more for you. The game's also at noon, by the way, so I'm going to text you. That may work out for a couple of our schedules this weekend. Boogie, so I'll text you on the side. But when you get recognized, are you getting recognized more as Boogie Roberts, the Nightmare defensive end, or are you getting recognized more as Boogie Roberts, the Super Bowl halftime show acting star, or Boogie Roberts, the UCSS fourth chair on Tuesdays or Mondays whenever you pull in? What do you get recognized the most as these days?
That's a lot of titles, but it's been a mixture. I have some kids that come and tell that I'm a beat, their favorite defensive line. Then you have others they've recognized me from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports. It's just been a blessing because that's my goal. I don't want to just be boxed in as just a football player, but you also want to be recognized for your craft. So it's been cool being recognized for doing both, getting in the show with you guys and also the work I'm putting in the field. So I would say both.
Boogie, good to see you as always, man. Are you coming in studio with us next week or no?
Oh, absolutely. I did get this week, All American is on Netflix. It's the #1 show on Netflix. I've got a couple of, were you on All American? So it's been a blast.
Nice. Right. Nice. All right, man. Awesome. Good luck this weekend. I think we may try to get out to the game this weekend.
Boogie, I'm going to text you right after this. We're going to see if we can set this up.
We'll see you later. Thanks.
Got you. Pre-game field passes or whatever. I got you guys.
Awesome.
Awesome, Boogie. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
There you go. All right, with a little bit of bad connection at the end. But, yeah, this is a good weekend for me. Actually, it's actually my birthday on Sunday.
Oh, for real?
So
27? 28? How old are you turning?
At my age?
Yeah, 28.
I wish. That would be great. Can I pass for 28? I can't.
You're not 50 yet, are you?
That's it. Yeah, I'm 50. I'm going to be 52.
Are you really? I didn't think you're that much older than me.
You're good for 52.
Old. Getting old, man. I'm now 8 years away from 60. I mean, that's old.
So you're like AARP eligible, right?
Yeah. No, at 52?
I thought it was in 50?
I don't know.
55.
AARP, is it 55?
Director Steve says 50, and I think he's 49, so he's approaching that.
Yeah, he's 49 my ass. Steve, how old are you?
Older than you is his answer.
Why are people uptight to say their age?
I think he's 65.
Public record.
Well,
so Steve's 60 plus.
At least you're alive. You're in better shape than me, Steve. All right. Whatever. Age is just a number. Except now I feel every bit my age. But I still act like I'm 13, so that's okay.
You did laugh at an unintentional potty joke earlier in the show. So.
Always. I love a great potty joke. Any final thoughts from anybody before we go home for the day? Remember, no overtime today because we're doing some sort of test run.
Two big games tonight.
The Mucky Mucks get to watch.
Can I tease something for tomorrow, though?
Yeah, please.
So this is on tomorrow's show. Jason, I'm sad you're not going to be part of this, but for some reason, PFF chose UCSS to be part of their beta season simulator test. We're one of like 15 subscribers that got a chance to do this. So I simulated 7 Brown seasons according to PFF, and the player projections and game-by-game picks and records all over the map. Some Browns fans are going to love. Some are going to get really pissed off at, but we're going to go through 7 tomorrow.
You simulated 7 seasons?
7 entire seasons.
So you can do that on your own?
For whatever reason, PFF chose us as one of the accounts that they're going to let use this.
I got an email about that too, but I didn't do anything with it.
Well, you could test it out tomorrow. I think it said 25 people in Ohio got like this, whatever. I emailed about it. But I'm going to show the results tomorrow. It varies, and we're going to look at what's the most realistic simulation, what's the least realistic, and how we feel in totality of how PFF is predicting the Brown season. But it's something you can only find on UCSS. Why? Because we're the ones that got to do it.
Darn right.
That's pretty cool.
That is really cool. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. That's it. You got a final thought? Quickly?
Oh, 2 big baseball games tonight. Little League in Avon Lake and Rocky River. Let's get it done.
That's true.
Peace.
See you tonight. We need a win desperately. Desperately.